Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well with another Snowflake Watches. We're going to be watching the ITV election debate. The date and time of this recording is the 14th of June, 2024 at 12 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming both live on YouTube and on twitch.tv as well. So just before we go into it, I'll just say hello to everyone in the chat. So who have we got here today? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you have a good week so far. Looking forward to the weekend. I hope everyone. Terry Regan, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Alistair Keir, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Jan Wallace is also here. I hope it's been very windy up here in London. I don't know what the weather's like where you are in Portsmouth. Hopefully, probably more windy, most likely. One Angry Pagan is here. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Mad Monk is popping in there. Good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well. And Satoru Hoshi, good to see you there as well. Hope you're doing well. Joe Lefty is also here as well. Good to see you. Hope you're all doing well. The gang behind me is here as well. And Pingu and the gang is also here as well. So we'll see them a bit later on. So so I did watch the debate last night after covering the Green Party manifesto. Just a good news if you haven't gone back and watched it, guys. I have time stamped the Green Party manifesto now, so it's broken down, so it's a lot easier if you want to look at specific parts of the manifesto. I read it pretty much in full in its entirety. So if you want to have a look at that, you're more than welcome to do so as well. So it's a nice breakdown of the Green Party's manifestos and what it's committing to in that. So I think that's really, really good there. But just before we go to that, this literally just popped down on Twitter, and I thought I'd share this with you guys just for kind of get our funny bones a little bit going because I got quite a few funny videos for today. And I have had lunch before starting this as well. So this literally dropped down from the Exploding Heads on Twitter. They haven't put it on YouTube yet. So I thought I'd play this, guys, for you guys. Yeah, I just get us a bit in a comedy mood before we dive into this here.
They don't force it.
Colin from Portsmouth is on the line. Hello, Colin.
I don't mind them doing it as long as they don't force it down my throat.
Are you still in prison, Colin?
Yes, I am, and I'm having a lovely time, and that's a disgrace. Anyway, what is this Pride Month? Why have the socialist perverted EU make June gay? Our children meant to enjoy June now. This is exactly what Nick Clegg wanted.
Well, I don't think the EU are in charge of Pride, Colin.
Oh, don't be so naive. Homosexuality was invented in Greece.
Right,
They've come from Europe to make our culture more vibrant, and that's why I and millions of others voted to leave.
How's your boycott going of all the corporations that have put a rainbow in their logo, Colin?
I'm not buying anything from a company that openly shows its tolerance towards a marginalised community until the month ends, and then they go and forget about that community for the rest of the year.
Absolutely.
And don't get me started on drag artists.
Wow, they're brilliant, aren't they, drag artists?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Imaginative, charismatic. It's an art form. I'll tell you what, I'll defend British pantomime to the end, but not when they're in public libraries telling stories.
No,
not having that. That's a left-wing affliction.
Colin, are you saying that no Tory is LGBTQ+?
Now, of course they are, but they do it the good old-fashioned way. At midnight in a bush on Clapham Common while loading themselves. I tell you, we lived for 100 years like that in repressed self-disgust. That is the British way. That's how it should be. And I'm begging you, Rishi Sunak, pull your finger out and restore our great British anti-pride. Anyway, mate, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
You can't spell diverse without
Okay, that last bit I don't really get, but Colin from Portsmouth there. They literally just dropped that literally 10 minutes ago, so I quickly scrambled and decided to add that. But I've got plenty of funny videos we'll have as we go along. Right, let's dive into this, guys. So I've got to be honest, like, I don't really want to give away too many of my thoughts now. I've too many of my thoughts. I will just say this just before we go into it. I felt this. The way that this was formatted sucked because it's and I should have expected this whatnot because this is ITV. They obviously just don't get things right in my opinion. I thought the formats of this sucked, if I'm absolutely honest. I didn't like it at all, and I'm very questionable about the whole questions pointed at other politicians thing as well, and I'll get to that when we come to it. But yeah, for those who let's dive right into it then. Yeah, this debate, in my opinion, this one was not as good as the first one. I thought the first one was a lot better, in my opinion. Let me know if there's any issues with the volumes, if I need to turn it up or down, guys, in the chat. Akismad, good to see you there. And if there's anyone else I've missed, just hopefully I'll keep an eye out for you guys.
Hi, I'm Angela Rayner, Labour's Deputy Leader, and we have a real chance to turn the page and have change in Britain, voting for Labour on the 4th of July.
I'm Daisy Cooper. I'm the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats. And tonight I hope to share with you some more details on our plan to save the NHS, tackle the cost of living crisis and to protect our local environment.
Good evening, I'm Penny Mordaunt. I'm going to be talking to you about which of your taxes the Conservatives will cut. Labour will be trying not to talk about the ones they're going to put up.
Blame Labour! Blame Labour! Everything! You can't trust Labour! Yeah, I know we suck, but you can't trust them! You just can't trust them! That's all you hear here from Penny Mordaunt today.
I'm Carla Denyer, co-leader of the Green Party. The Tories are toast, but Labour are offering little better. With the Green Party, you can choose real hope and real change.
I'm Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK. Just before we came on air, we overtook the Conservatives in the national opinion polls. We are now the opposition to Labour.
No, you are not.
I'm Stephen Flynn, the leader of the SNP at Westminster, and we're here to always put Scotland's interests first.
Yes, he is.
Hi, I'm Rhyn ap Iorwerth. I'm the leader of Plaid Cymru. Tonight I'll make the case for a fairer, more ambitious Wales, but also for a new kind of politics that can matter to you wherever you are.
Very well said, Dan.
Hello and welcome to the ITV election debate. It has been a fractious few weeks in the election so far, grappling with issues like the cost of living, tax, the health service and immigration. After our head-to-head with Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak tonight, we have leading politicians from the 7 large...
Just before I carry on, guys, obviously I will not be monetising this because I'll get copyright if I do. So any kind of super chats or memberships, they'll be greatly appreciated throughout this, guys.
Largest parties in Great Britain to hear all of their ideas and plans for tackling the big challenges. And with trust in politics at an all-time low, and when many of us feel our political system is broken, what can...
Sorry, I got to say this comment. Jan Wallace says, "Hello, I'm Penny Mordaunt, and I'm going to be talking mostly over anything Angela Rayner has to say." It's so true.
They say to restore some faith. Well, the format tonight is simple. We want to focus on 4 big questions at the heart of this general election campaign. Those questions come from ITV viewers, and the questioners selected are here in the studio with us. They will put their questions directly to the politicians. Each politician will then have an initial...
All right, last one, and then I'll let it play. It says, "Hi, I'm Mad Monk. I'm co-leader of the League of Spanners, and I'm democratic as long as it is agreeable and the Spanners' ideas." Oh, oh, very good, Mad Monk. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'm glad you're putting your campaign forward for the League of Spanners. Oh, very good, my friend.
Uninterrupted reply to the question. After all the politicians have had a response, we will then debate their positions on that question in depth. I may add in some shorter questions from the viewers at home to add to our debate. And you can join in wherever you are by using the hashtag ITVDebate. It's time for our first topic. We were inundated with questions from people worried about public services, from people who use them and from people who work in them. Asking about that is Dennis from Southport. Dennis.
Okay.
I was born around the time that the NHS was founded. It was an amazing thing, but unfortunately now it is on its knees. So many public services are not working as they used to. Do any of you have any ideas that are big enough to make things work again?
Thank you very much indeed, Dennis. And a reminder that Dennis's question obviously talks broadly about the public services, some of which, like health and education, are devolved areas with policy set directly in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. I'll come to my first responder, please, to Penny Mordaunt.
Thank you, Joe Lefty, for being a member for 5 months. Great, greatly appreciated. Vote for the League of Spanners. The League of Spanners, yes. The League of Spanners. We should get all the mods from all the YouTubers together and have a party called the League of Spanners. I definitely like that term.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your question. The NHS in particular is an act of faith for the people of this country. They want to be able to rely on it. But since the COVID pandemic, the caseload that our healthcare professionals are dealing with has gone up by 43%. The only way that we can reduce those waiting lists is to keep the NHS budget strong. That we have done, that we will continue to do. The only party on this platform that has ever cut the NHS budget is Labour.
Like, again, attacking Labour. Like, she started off a little bit well, but then she just fails to mention the fact that her party's been in power for 14 years. Just putting that out there.
They've cut it 3 times in Wales, and we have to
blame
increase
Wales.
The number of healthcare professionals that we have. We have been doing that, 70,000 more nurses, for example. We have to continue that, and we won't do if we can't retain them in the service because they're being taxed out of it because of their pension.
Thank you very much, Penny Mordaunt. Stephen Flynn.
Dennis, thank you for your question. And the NHS is quite an important topic for me because I physically wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for the good work that the NHS did. I was a disabled man for 18 years. I know the importance of our public services, but our NHS in particular. The thing the NHS requires more than anything is clear financial support from government and a plan for the future. And I'm afraid that Westminster doesn't offer that hope and that certainty. What's baked in under a future Labour government is £18 billion worth of public sector cuts. That's the equivalent of the entirety of Scotland's health and social care budget. You deserve better, and the people of Scotland deserve better, which is why people should vote for the SNP at this election in Scotland.
Well said.
Thank you. Ryan Apioworth.
We can look at it from 2 sides in Wales. Actually, we have suffered, as everybody is, as a result of the public spending cuts by 14 years of the Conservatives. But also in Wales, we have had Labour health ministers who've mismanaged health for 25 years. At the heart of the future of the NHS has got to be sustainable. This is sustainability of funding, which is why I want to see fair funding for Wales. But it's also got to be the sustainability of the workforce. The NHS is nothing without its workforce. That's why we say we want to recruit 500 extra GPs into the NHS. But 2 core principles. 1, we absolutely have to pledge to keep the NHS free at the point of need and also to keep privatisation out of the NHS. And it pains so many people to see Labour's Wes Streeting talking so warmly about bringing the private sector into the NHS.
Thank you very much indeed, Ryan Apioworth. Nigel Farage.
Well, Dennis, the NHS has 2 fundamental problems. 1, Penny mentioned, caseloads up by 43%. Why? Because we have an exploding population. All of our public services are under pressure because the population has increased by 6 million since the Conservatives came to power. It's impossible to keep up. Secondly, everyone talks about more money, more money. We've massively increased the amount we spend on the NHS. We've gone from spending about 7% of the national cake to over 11% of the national cake for worse and worse returns. And we need to look at countries like France, who spend exactly the same sum of money, but get far better services by people paying in to an insurance fund.
Privatise the NHS. That is what he's saying. Go American style. That's what Nigel Farage wants. This is what he's pitching to you. He wants you to pay for your cancer treatment. That's what he wants, guys. He wants you to pay for your cancer treatment when your family member is dying on their deathbed. He wants the money to come out of your pocket. That's what he wants. That's a vote for Nigel Farage, by the way, guys. Just remember that. Alistair Keir, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships. He's given 10 gifted memberships to Satu Hochi, Billy Cudshaw, Tories Don't Get Tasered, Reg Dare, Pedulous, Paul Fletcher, Wendy Clare, Ron Turner, Crafty Mayhem for you, and Jacob Van Urk. Thank you so much, Alistair Keir, for the 10 gifted. That's very kind of you, my friend. Thank you. I really appreciate your support, as always.
It acts on a mutual basis. Those that can't pay don't. They get better results. Let's think more broadly.
Thank you very much indeed. Carla Denyer.
Dennis, you're right, the NHS is in crisis, and the Conservatives' answer of a workforce plan doesn't help when they're refusing to pay healthcare workers properly. They're pouring water into a leaky bucket because people are leaving the service for better pay and better conditions elsewhere. It also doesn't help what Labour are proposing, opening the door to more privatisation in our health service. The answer is investment, and that's why the Green Party is clear that we would make transformative investment into not only the NHS but also social care, which helps take the pressure off the NHS. The Green Party will always stand for an NHS for people, not profit.
Thank you, Carla Denyer. Angela Rayner.
Very nice.
Thank you,
good to see
Dennis,
you.
for your question. The NHS is one of our proudest achievements, and it'll become Labour that will have to fix it again. Before I was an MP, I was a Unison rep and I was a home care worker, and in 2010, the Tories, aided and abetted by the Lib Dems, created austerity, which meant many of our workforce were made redundant, and now we've got the crisis in the NHS. So we've got to fix the workforce problem and we've got to invest. That's why we then the non-dom tax status, so we can put 40,000 new appointments, and we'll use up private sector to bring down those waiting lists, but the NHS will remain a public service under Labour, and we'll also fix the problem in our social care, because if you don't take the two together, then you won't fix them. And we've also said on the VAT on private schools to give us 6,500 qualified teachers in our classroom to fix our education as well.
Thank you.
Now, I want to be very clear about this. Angela Rayner has stated this, and Wes Streeton is saying this, and obviously Stephen Flynn will say differently here. She said there that they will use the private healthcare to bring down the waiting list. This is what they've stated. Obviously, I have not read the manifesto, so it's very important they need to read the manifesto to clarify this. So if anyone else wants to comment, you can do. But until I read the Labour manifesto in full, I want to be very careful with what I say here. But as far as I'm aware, Wes Streeton has always stated that they were going to use the private healthcare to help bring down the waiting list. Now, it doesn't really add up to me. I'm more in favour of what the Greens want to do, and and rather just invest directly in the NHS rather than the use of the private sector, me personally. But I just want to make clear that this is the points that Labour have always made, that they said that they were using the private healthcare to help bring down the waiting list. They have, as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen Wes Streeton saying that we will invest in private health, that we are going to integrate private healthcare into our national healthcare service. I haven't heard them state that. Now, obviously, because the wordings of what Angela Rayner has said there and what the wordings of Wes Streeton says there really does matter. Not what opposition politicians are saying, what they're actually saying, and what it actually specifically says in their manifesto is very, very important context, guys, because it can get very convoluted, especially about how we feel about certain political parties. QA Library, good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. I've given up watching these because the parties I want to vote for the general election will not be the winners. I understand how you feel. If you're not hanging around, that's fine. But it's good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you very much, Angela Rayner. Daisy Cooper.
Dennis, I have heard different versions of your questions time and time again. I hear from people all over the country. They're working hard, they're striving, they're supporting their families, they're paying their taxes, and when they go to use their public services, whether it's the NHS, whether it's schools, whether it's the police or anything else, they're broken. They're completely broken, and nothing works. Now, in this election, we Liberal Democrats have said that our manifesto is a manifesto to save the NHS and social care. We're pledging £9 billion to invest upstream. We see on the TV all these disastrous pictures of people dying in the back of ambulances, suffering the indignity of corridor care because they can't see a GP, they can't see a dentist, and that's what we want to fix. So under Liberal Democrats, you'll have 8,000 more GPs, we'll fix the dental crisis, and we'll invest free personal social care so people can get all the care they need when they need it.
Daisy Cooper, thank you very much indeed. And just to return to Dennis's question, he was born around...
Alistair Keir, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. The problem is that the private healthcare sector uses NHS staff too. Yes, that is another problem as well. That needs to be separated. I think then there needs to be separated of some sorts. So, if and correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously for those on the Labour perspective, thank you so much for the £2 super chat, my friend. I appreciate it. I can't click the heart button yet. I don't want to accidentally block you with the phone here. I'll click heart on it in a second. Just on that point, obviously, my understanding, and those who are obviously of Labour or big Labour supporters, my understanding is that the idea is obviously to use the private healthcare sector to help bring down the waiting list, but not directly integrate it into our national healthcare service. That is what my understanding or interpretation or perception that I have of what the Labour Party wants to use the private healthcare sector for. But obviously, the problem, as Keir pointed out in the super chat there, is that the NHS staff are being used for the private sector as well and using up that space as well, and that's something that needs to be tackled as well. So yeah, yes. Why can't I click? There we go. So yeah, totally. I totally understand. I totally understand that issue there. So I guess the question could be: should we tell the private sector, no, you can't use our workers, no, you can't use our doctors and nurses? Because if you do that, if you say that, especially in this crisis that we're in, it might just cause all those workers in the NHS to just leave straight away. So it might even lead to an even more further reduction of workers within the NHS right now. So so yeah, I know it's a difficult situation.
And the time the NHS was founded, he's seen it over all of these years, haven't you, Dennis? Saying it's now on its knees in so many other areas of public services, which we will also touch on beside the NHS. Things are just not working. This is what we've heard time and again from our questioners. The key thing that Dennis is asking is, do you have ideas that are big enough? Angela Rayner.
Well, yes, we've also said not only do we need that investment, but we do need the reform. We need the technologies as well, because our NHS is world leading, and then we need to have those scanners and the new technology so that we can have the best possible care for people. That will also bring around, with that reform, efficiencies in the way that people work. So we're open to that, to make sure that people get the support that they need. But we've got to fix the social care crisis as well.
But what Angela's refusing to admit there is what was referred to earlier, which is the Shadow Health Secretary essentially saying that he's going to hold the door open to the private sector. Now, that is not... He did say that, and that's not
true.
Where the answer...
I don't recall him saying those specific words, but I do recall an exclusive article from the Eye with the headline that he would hold the door open for NHS privatisation. I do remember that headline. I don't remember in that article him quoting saying that, but I could be wrong as well.
Lies. The answer lies
I'll
in
answer that directly.
And when it comes to staffing...
Let's just pause there and allow her to answer that directly, and then I'll come back to you.
I'll answer that directly. Wes Streeton has said, in order to bring the record high waiting list down, that we would use up capacity in the private sector to bring the waiting list down.
But you don't need to use it. This is the point. This is the counter argument from those who are against any kind of privatisation, the creeping privatisation of the privatisation of healthcare. You don't actually need that. It's just a case of being able to make necessary changes and reforms within the healthcare system itself. You don't. This is something that they're trying to say that needs to be done. I'm saying that it doesn't need to be done. They're saying it has to be done. I don't think that this has to be done. I think it can be done without the need of private healthcare. It's just a case of building and training up our workforces. Yes, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of issues around it, but I do think we can do it without the need of the healthcare. But obviously, it would take a long time to do so. But the other counter argument some people may have is that we don't have time to wait because people are suffering, people are dying, and people need to get back into work, which will help also fix the economy as well. So there is that counterintuitive to it as well.
Rather than keep people on waiting lists, waiting for years for an operation that they desperately need,
Angelo.
we think that's the right way. Okay. But it will always be a publicly owned NHS under Labour.
Angelo, all of us are aware of what Wes has said, and you may deny it, but the reality is he said he wants privatisation. It goes beyond just hospitals.
There has been stories that Wes Streeting, I don't know how true they are, but there has been stories. I did have a look at his donations, but I haven't seen, they weren't publicly available. There have been rumours and stories that I've seen online that he has taken donations from private healthcare companies, him directly as donations. I don't know how true that is. I've not seen records that's confirmed that, but there have been stories of that I've seen.
As well, and when we talk about staffing, because staffing is an enormous issue, the elephant in the room is the fact that it's not migration is the problem, it's the fact that we need more people coming in to work in our hospitals and to work in our social care sector, which has been decimated by your Brexit.
Isn't the point? All we want is for it to be free at the point of delivery. That's what matters. And actually, Labour are quite right to say, let's use the private sector to try and reduce some of the waiting list. Why not actually give people tax relief on paying money into private insurance to relieve more of the pressure?
I chose my words carefully. It's the warm words which Wes Streeting has used to describe the role he sees it for the private sector in the NHS. And the problem with that, you see, is that if you're allowing the scarce funding that we all agree there is in the NHS to be leaked out of the NHS in private profit, rather than doing things like setting up the cancer system that Plaid Cymru proposes in this election, you're not serving the people that we're meant to be.
Thank you. Let me.
That's a great point there. Absolutely great point there, because a lot of that money is going towards the profits of private healthcare instead of actually going towards where it needs to go. That's a fantastic point. And it really does highlight, the danger of what happens with it. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to any private business, what is their bottom line? It is all about making money. That is the main number one thing for any private company, regardless of what they stand for. They are always it's always in the interest of making profit, and that's exactly what these private healthcare companies want to do. They want to make as much money as they possibly can at our expense.
I think this goes to the heart of the problem, because I think we should just keep political dogma out of the public sector and public services. The public, we're all politicians up here, but most of the public don't care what colour the cat is. They just want some mice caught. That's what they want.
Well, how many mice have you been catching for the last 14 years?
They want results. And in my experience, listening to people who are actually doing these jobs, police officers who have reduced crime by half over the time we've been in office, healthcare professionals who are coming up with amazing initiatives in our hospitals and in our GP surgeries, teachers who are responsible. We now have 90% of our schools are good or outstanding. Listen to the professionals in these services. Keep political dogma out of it.
Thank you. I'll come to you in a moment, Carl Denny. On that issue of private involvement in the NHS, speak to Penny Mordaunt from the Lib Dems perspective. Daisy Cooper.
Well, to be honest, where there is capacity in the private sector, we could be using some of it in order to bring down the waiting list. But let's not kid ourselves. There is very limited capacity in the private sector, and we shouldn't be using it if it guts more capacity from the NHS. One of the problems...
Exactly. Because then you're taking it away from the public sector, from our National Healthcare Service, which is what was where the money is supposed to be going anyway.
We've had over the last few years, as you know, is that the Conservatives have absolutely gutted primary care. Some people go to see their GP. Your party promised 6,000 more GPs. We now have fewer per head. We have dentists fleeing the NHS and working privately because the dental contract is so broken and hasn't been fixed. Boris Johnson stood on the steps of Downing Street and promised to fix social care once and for good, and he hasn't, and it's now in crisis.
Okay.
So our plan is to fix the front door with more GPs and dentists, and to fix the back door by fixing social care.
Okay, quick response from Penny. Now I want to bring in Carl Denny.
We have grown the number of healthcare professionals.
And they're leaving. It's one in, one out.
We have...
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, Penny can say whatever she likes about the training and whatnot. It doesn't matter. If the pay is crap, if the work is too much, they're going to go elsewhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter the training. The training for them is like, I've got my qualifications and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but the pay here is crap. I'm going to go somewhere else. Why should they stay when they can get better pay elsewhere? It's better for a lot of these NHS work training up healthcare workers. It's better for them to go private or go abroad. If the money is better, why? No one is going to say no to earning more money. There is that sense of, some people have a sense of pride when it comes to the NHS, but the opportunities to earn more money and work less and whatnot, you're going to want to take that all the time in life. Like, what Daisy says absolutely is spot on with it.
Have 70,000 more nurses.
You're pouring into a leaky bucket.
We have a dental recovery plan.
It's not working.
New providers coming in, and also mobile services now. This is the only way.
What about the
having a
what about the 40 new hospitals?
This is the only way we are going to get waiting lists down. What won't get waiting lists down?
Nigel Farage mentioning the 40 new hospitals. How's that going as well?
Is cutting the budget and taxing healthcare professionals, which is what Labour will do.
Thank you. Carla Denny, you have a big offer on the spending for the NHS. There are a lot of questions about that. Talk us through your big idea for the health service.
First of all, I want to say to Penny, decent investment in public services is not political dogma. It's common sense.
Yes.
It's what people want to see.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying having a row about the sectors is wrong.
Sorry.
Decent investment in public services is common sense. It's what the public want to see, an NHS well-funded in public hands so that it can do its job. And Dennis was trying to get out of the panellists tonight what our big ideas are. The Green Party's big idea is decent investment in public services, and we're not afraid to say where it'll come from. We want to make the economy fairer so that the billionaires and multimillionaires, those with the broadest shoulders who can easily afford to, pay a bit extra to fund the public services that we all rely on.
They'll leave the country. They're leaving already, even under a Conservative government.
Oh, shut up, Nigel. Come on. They're only taking 1% of people with over £1 million or more to tax, and 2% over those who have £1 billion or more. They are not going to leave the country by paying that tiny little bit more of tax. Nonsense from Nigel Farage.
We've got a brain drain, the likes of which we haven't had since 1978.
Can I come back on that
And if Labour are in power, maybe with your support, what'll happen is even more will leave. Just taxing the rich doesn't solve this. And everyone here is talking about more.
He brought up a great valid point there that taxing the rich doesn't solve this. Yes, he's absolutely right. Taxing the rich doesn't just solve this. Absolutely. I 100% agree. But, and obviously there's going to be a lot of weeds to fit to weeds, and there is going to need to be some fundamental changes within the NHS. But everybody keeps banging on about where the money's going to come from. Well, we know where the money's going to come from what the Green Party are offering. But he is absolutely right in saying that money doesn't just fix these problems. Well, money just doesn't just fix these problems, but there needs to be a clear plan on this. There's no clear plan from the Conservatives. The Labour Party say they want to use the private healthcare. I think the Greens and Lib Dems are quite pretty similar on what they want to do in terms of the national healthcare service there. I'm obviously talking specifically about the NHS in England, and obviously what's happening I can't talk too much about the healthcare in Wales, but obviously under Labour it's not been doing very well for themselves. It's actually the worst than England. So there obviously needs to be questions about Labour's Welsh government. Obviously, the Welsh government in Labour needs to be questions about that. Obviously, and Scotland does still have the best healthcare out of the four nations. But I would always say there's always room for. Obviously, I can't speak on Scottish healthcare, but what I will always say is that there is always room for improvement in that. That is for sure.
Money, more investment. I'm telling you, we've massively increased investment in the NHS for a worse return. It's not just about money.
Which I did say about reform as well.
I'll introduce some facts to this debate. When the rules on non-dom status were changed in this country in 2017, there was no difference in who was leaving the country amongst those that were affected by that change and those who weren't.
Nonsense.
No.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Carla, the Greens would not BS people on this. She's stating a fact here, Nigel. It's not nonsense. Yeah, the rich are not going to step up and leave. They're already getting it pretty generous as it is. They're not going to walk out on this. They really aren't. Yeah, we're asking them to pay a little bit more. We're not asking them. I mean, I personally would take a lot more money off them. If I'm honest, I tax a lot more than what the Greens are offering, personally. Yeah. Alistair Keir, thank you so much for the £5 super chat, saying money follows the patients in England. So if private goes to them 2010 Tories, Lib Dems did that. Hold on, what's going on? Why is my screen? Sorry, 1 second, guys. There we go. Money follows the patients in England. So if that goes to them in 2010, Lib Dems did that. Yeah, 2010 obviously was was not a very good time obviously for Lib Dems. I think they tried to do what was right, but they couldn't always do that, if I'm honest. It goes back longer than that, says QA Library. It goes back to Margaret Thatcher when the NHS internal market when it was set up as well. Mad Monk says they said that taxing the richest in Scotland more would have them leaving here in droves, but it's been the opposite as more are moving in, as their services are better here in the long term as it's cheaper. Yeah, I mean this is just it's Nigel Farage is trying to scaremonger people with his there.
That's true.
They're leaving now.
Angela Rayner, you wanted to come in on that point that was just raised by Nigel Farage.
Yeah, because I think I think we do have to invest in our public services, and we've said that. Austerity was very damaging for our public service and actually cost us more in the long run, and people are not getting the care that they need. But we do need reform, and we do need the new technologies that will help as well to bring those efficiencies.
Your party is committed to continuing with £18 billion worth of public sector. Don't shake your head. This isn't my words, this is the IFS. The IFS have outlined the conspiracy of silence between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party on £18 billion worth of public sector cuts. How is that going to help public sector services? It's not.
That's the Institute of Physical Studies, obviously the IMF there. That's an independent body with that.
OK, can you respond directly on that point about the £18 billion worth of cuts that Stephen Flynn, he is pointing to?
Yes, because at the moment we've had flat growth and really poor growth in this country, and we're not going to be able to tax our way out of the disastrous situation the Tories have left us in. But what we are going to do is we're going to have a growth strategy with an industrial strategy.
So we're not going to be able to tax our way out of this. But, like, okay. They did just raise a lot of eyebrows with that comment.
With a skills strategy which will enable us to grow the economy so that we can pay for our public services. We can't tax our way out of this. We've got the highest tax burden
but that is
in
exactly
70
what
years.
you're going to do. You have a black hole of 38.5 billion. Their manifesto was published today.
Black holes.
Labour's manifesto was published today. 38.
I've been through your manifesto. You got a lot of black holes in your manifesto.
5 billion is the tax gap in their plans, and the only way, because public spending is going to have to go up. That's the demand. The only way they are going to be able to do that is to raise taxes. They've only declared about a quarter of the taxes they're going to put up. They're going to have to put up a lot more, and they haven't yet told you how they're going to do that.
Now, I just want to make this very clear. I have not read the Labour manifesto. One or two stories I've heard is that it's not too much that hasn't already been revealed, which is very concerning if that is the case. There is some truth into what Penny is saying, that they may have to raise some other taxes that we don't know about, and Labour haven't been clear about that. I think that there is some truth to that, possibly, because obviously... obviously, Angela Rayner is saying that they're not going to raise taxes. I can't see them not raising taxes somewhere. There has to be taxes raised somewhere, because we desperately need more funding. That is for sure. But apparently there's supposed to be a magic money tree somewhere, so maybe they'll use that instead of raising taxes. I don't know.
You can't afford that. You
can't afford another 5 years of the Tories. You're
no,
promising tax cuts when you've already done that once and crashed the economy once. You've already done that once. But we've made it absolutely...
working household in this
when it comes to tax, the Conservatives have made a very clear choice to increase taxes on working people, on struggling families. That's happened more and more times.
Excuse me, that is 100% true. We are paying more in our taxes than ever before. We are paying higher energy bills. We're paying more on our water. We're paying more on our council taxes. We're paying more. We've been paying more and more and more. I thought I didn't hear the £2,000 line, but I guess I was wrong. I thought I didn't hear it yesterday, but it shows why. I thought she actually went this debate without saying it, but she did say it. But yeah, there's been lots of taxes that have been raised under the Conservatives. Like, to say that they've been cutting it, yeah, it's nonsense.
You have raised tax to the highest level in almost 80 years. What Liberal Democrats have said.
There is literally Ed Conway of Sky literally showed the graph of the taxes and how much they have gone up under the Conservatives. It's absolutely insane. The taxes are as high as they were after the Second World War. That's how crazy it is. That's how crazy the taxes are now.
That we would not increase taxes on struggling families during the cost of living crisis, but we would look to the big banks, to the big tech companies who can pay a little bit more to fund our public services.
Thank you. I will come back to you. I will come back to you very shortly. I just want to take a quick pause on that point. And actually, I know,
if I could make it, I had to draw attention to the analogy with the cats and the mice here. What we've seen under the Conservatives for 14 years is the fat cats getting rich and getting the cream. And I fear that with privatisation in the NHS, we're going to see the same under Labour.
I like how he uses the cream analogy there off the fat cat thing. Very, very good analogy there from Runa. It's very good.
In an interview last night on a colleague's channel, said that tax is a good thing when it comes to public services. Tell the other people on this platform why you believe tax is a good thing.
This is the honesty that we need in this debate. We can't have a decent NHS, we can't have good schools unless we have a fair taxation system that brings the money in to pay for those services. The taxation system has to be fair, we have to have honesty, and the taxation has to be fair in that the weight is borne by the shoulders of those who have the broadest shoulders, be it corporates or the very, very wealthy.
100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. The problem is that too many of the middle and low income earners are paying too much tax. It should be the highest earners, the big tech companies, the ones who are racking in loads of money, the oil and gas giants, the richest in society. We are asking them to take the burden off the middle and lower incomes to help ease the burden off them. We want to change that balance, and this is exactly what he's talking about. You're hearing this kind of rhetoric from. I'm glad I'm hearing this more from him, because I think this is based on what I heard from the rest when I was listening to it last night. This debate, I thought he was a hell of a lot better than he was in the first debate. But definitely himself, Carla Denver, and Daisy Cooper are kind of all on that. And Stephen Flynn, of course, they're all on that same page, yeah. In terms of obviously wanting to balance the books there. Billy Kershaw, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Have to spend money wisely. Just pump. Folks, I've explained to you, we've massively increased over the last few years the percentage of the national cake we put into the NHS for a worse return. Does nobody else acknowledge we need to spend the money better?
Yes, we all know that the money needs to be spent better, but your ideas suck. all you're doing is moaning and not giving clearer solutions. You're not the one who's coming up with solutions.
Of course we do. That's why Liberal Democrats are saying you invest it upstream because prevention is better than cure. If you have more GPs, you solve the dental crisis, you have access to mental health hubs in communities, people can access care when they need it, and you don't end up firefighting all the problems in A&E, in ambulances and hospitals. That's the problem that we've had under the Conservatives. They've gutted primary care and everybody has ended up in hospital because they can't get the treatment they need upstream.
Well
I'd
said,
like to
Daisy.
know from Angela, why so timid? Why wait for economic growth when you could introduce a tax that doesn't affect those on average incomes or low incomes? It only affects the billionaires and multimillionaires. It could raise tens of billions of pounds. Why won't Labour even consider it?
OK, Angela Rayner.
I've never been called timid in my life, but coming back to the point that Nigel made and Daisy was making the same point. Look, I was a home care worker. We gutted out home care.
She was asking you a question, Angela. Why can't you answer it? Why won't you tax the rich? It's a very simple question. It's not a very simple question.
Services. It costs so much more money now that people are stuck on
It doesn't cost anything to tax the rich and the wealthy by a little bit. It really doesn't.
trolleys in A&E for 40 hours plus. These are our elderly relatives that are treated really poorly, and it costs us more money. So if we put the money in the right place, we can actually make savings. I did that when I was a home care.
We get all this, but what you were asked the question of why won't you tax some of the richest in society to help pay off some of the debt, to help pay off for some of the funding that we need. You ask it's a very simple question. It's not really that hard to answer, but this is not very good imagery here for Angela Rayner. I know she's trying to knock down the Conservatives. I know she's trying to play it safe here, but I really would like to know why Labour are not keen on this. It's not a very good. It's not ideal for Labour at all here.
And trade union rep, I know we can do it again, but at the moment we're hemorrhaging money because the money is being used in the most inappropriate way, and people are not getting the care that they deserve.
Thank you very much indeed for that. I just want
Angela
to I'm just going to raise your taxes. Thank you. I'm just going to return.
Yes, Penny, we know that.
The gap has to be closed.
We are anchoring. Thank you. We're anchoring all of our debate tonight in the questions that have been so kindly provided by our audience, which we're very grateful for.
I thought this actually format is not as bad as I initially thought when I was watching it last night. It seems like pretty solid at the moment, actually. To be fair to ITV,
it was clear actually when Dennis was posing that question, as I alluded to earlier. It's not just the NHS, of course, that he's talking about. He's talking about a whole range of public services. We've received messages from hundreds of teachers across the United Kingdom. They are all saying schools are in crisis, that there are not enough teachers. We even had a message from a 12-year-old who said his school is literally crumbling. Be honest, do you think our education system is still world-class? Penny Mordaunt.
I think it is world-class, and we have improved. Well, when we...
The laugh that you heard a few laughters in there. Yeah, I think the education system is world-class if you're using the private sector.
Took office, literacy rates were trailing the world. Now they are leading them. We have 90% of our schools are good or outstanding.
As long as you avoid any crumbling ceiling parts that might fall on top of your kids. Yeah, apart from that.
And we have undertaken an enormous refurbishment programme. I mean, just in my own patch, we've rebuilt several schools. We have a university technical college. Investment has gone in, and we've also increased the numbers of teachers that we have, 30,000 more teachers. That is absolutely vital, and education standards are going up as a direct consequence of that.
There's been some difficult questions for the SNP on education. Stephen Flynn.
Well, of course, when we look at education in the round, the biggest difference that exists between the SNP and what happens in Scotland and the Labour Party and the Conservative Party and what happens in Westminster in England is the fact that for our young people in Scotland, they go to university and they don't pay a single penny in tuition fees.
But your schools have fallen down the international rankings.
Absolutely life-changing.
Yep.
And I don't know if the Lib Dems agree with tuition fees or not. They've got quite a record in that regard.
Oh, yes.
So you can elaborate upon it for all of us.
But Daisy Cooper, respond to Stephen Flynn. Do you talk to Stephen Flynn?
Well, on the question of tuition fees, we were punished for that. That's democracy. I get that.
Do you still believe in free tuition, though?
As I say, on the point of tuition fees, we were punished for that, right?
But what's your position now? What's your policy now?
In 2015, when we were out of coalition, the thing that the Conservatives did on their own is they removed maintenance grants, the grants that were there for the poorest students to give them a shot at going to university. And we have said that we would put those back in place. But when it comes to education, we will not take lessons
so you still believe in
from the
tuition
SNP.
fees? You still believe that people should have tens of thousands of pounds of debt?
Schools have fallen down the international rankings rapidly.
Carla Denyer.
The teachers that have written in are right. Like almost all of our public services, our education system has been run into the ground. And I was really glad to see the National Education Union came out yesterday to welcome the Green Party manifesto. It said that the Green Party manifesto is the only party manifesto out so far that meets the scale of the challenges in the education sector.
Sticking the knife into the rest of the parties there in England. Very nice.
It's time to invest in teachers, in their pay, in school buildings, in making schools more than just exam factories and giving young people what they need for life.
Nigel Farage.
Scotland was world class at one point. It certainly isn't now. It's gone wrong.
How would you know? How often do you go to Scotland, Nigel? How often do you go to their schools? Answers on a postcard, please. Like that picture from Stephen Flynn is like, oh, behave.
Right down the international rankings. Look, there is a problem. We know the buildings, the rack concrete, all of that, but we are back to the subject that nobody wants to discuss, the exploding population.
Oh, here we go.
Our schools, our class size.
It's all the migrants' fault. Everything's all migrants' fault. It's all migrations. It's all the immigrants' fault. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the government. It's all the migration. It's all them. That's Nigel's thing. Blame Brexit. It's Brexit. It's blame the EU. Now it's blame the migrants. Yeah, no solutions. Just finger pointing. That's what he's doing here.
Are getting bigger. Of course, we've recruited more teachers. We need more teachers with an exploding population, and it's a constant problem that none of the other panellists even want to discuss.
Angela Rayner. Tell Nigel Farage about the policy that you have on finding new teachers.
Well, first of all, I respectfully disagree that we have the exploding population in our schools. We have falling rolls in our schools at the moment, actually, and that is a problem for many of our primary schools. But what we've said is that we would end the VAT tax break on private schools to put 6,500 qualified teachers in the classroom. We've got teachers teaching lessons that they're not qualified in at the moment.
Yeah.
We think that every child should have a qualified teacher in the classroom. And we had the Tories who knew and were warned about RAC and the problems with our schools' buildings at the moment. We've got more temporary classrooms because of that, because they did nothing, but they cut the capital budget for schools at the same time, knowing full well that there was dangers with RAC buildings.
OK, Nigel Farage and then Penny Mordaunt.
Look, you know, if you put 20% on private school fees, all you'll finish up with a lot more, probably 25% of those currently in private school will then be a burden for state schools. It is a self-defeating policy that removes parental choice.
Okay.
I don't agree. I don't accept that premise. I think we should have less. It should be far less money should be in the private sector. I don't agree with that assessment from Nigel Farage. I don't think it will do that. It will hurt some people, and I do accept it will hurt some people, but not on the level that Nigel Farage is saying. And we've talked about this before, guys. We need more funding in state schools, and the funding gap, and I'm pretty sure I've showed you guys this in the past. The graph of the funding gap between the state and private is humongous. It really, really is.
Well, Nigel, those schools could.
Okay,
Our state schools have had austerity and have cuts and cuts. Those schools could absorb some of those costs, so they didn't have to pass it on to all of the people.
So you're happy with more pupils going into the state sector?
But we cannot afford to give private schools a tax break when our state system.
No HQA Library, thanks for popping by. Ted Boy 1, good to see you there. Scotland and Northern England couldn't be further away if we were the opposite sides of the planet. Well, there is that famous picture, wasn't there, of the grass on the border between England and Scotland. That speaks a lot of volumes, doesn't it?
Cannot have the right teachers in the classrooms
that
they
bring
deserve.
in Penny Mordaunt now.
In addition, in 2010, in addition to there being no money left, IFOI, the Department of Education, about the Building Schools for the Future programme, they weren't even looking at secondary schools in that programme. And what Angela and the Labour Party are going to do is, unbelievably, they are going to tax education. The result of that is, yes, some families will not be able to send their kids to the schools they're currently going to, but also, they've admitted this week, class sizes will go up as a consequence. It's crazy. It doesn't serve anyone, and it's the kind of dogma that we need to keep out of the public sector.
Penny Mordaunt, thank you. Ria Nappior.
Wales was one of the first literate countries in the whole world, and it pains me to see what's happened in the 25 years of Labour ministers in Wales, and it pains me again to see the impacts of public spending cuts by the Conservative government. Now, I don't know how Angela Rayner thinks half an extra teacher in every school in England will make a difference to the standards of education, but I'll tell you one thing, we need, and both my parents were teachers, we need, just as in health, to make sure that our workforce feel supported. It's in good wages, but it's also in knowing that government is on their side, and neither in Wales nor in the rest, nor in England, can they say that that's the case.
Well, okay.
Very well said. Again, he's saying a lot of things. Like, if you're in Wales and you're hearing some of this rhetoric, again, this is great points again. This is great point scoring here. And if I'm someone in Wales and I'm hearing what this guy's saying, like, this would make me want to vote for Plaid Cymru. This really would. This is much better. He is so much better than he was in the first debate so far. Very impressed with him so far.
No, I'm going
That's
to
why in our manifesto we have the school support staff negotiating body, which is around the whole of the support staff as well as teachers, which I believe will make a difference.
Thank you very much. We've had so many thoughts and debates within that question about public services. We've had thousands of questions from our viewers about the scale of the problems in the public services against the backdrop of a pretty squeezed financial situation. I know that everybody here and at home will have listened with great interest in what you've had to say. All of those perspectives, from reform to spending to tax, a lot of things to think about. Do stay with us. After the break, we will be talking about immigration.
All right, yep. That's one of the benefits, yeah, because ITV, obviously, it's actually 1 hour and 50 minutes, the video, but just before we go back to that, guys, apparently there's some broken news about Nigel Farage, guys. Some really important broken news about Nigel Farage.
Welcome to Broken News. Nigel Farage says he's still looking for new and inventive ways to fuck the UK. Having already done it sideways and backwards, the clammy bag of fags says he's focusing on exploring other entry points to give the country a good porking. Our reporter has more.
Like some chinless twatty whack-a-mole in mustard slacks, you bonk Nigel Farage on his fat head in one place and up he pops somewhere else, parping like a toad-faced foghorn and smelling like an ashtray's arsehole, usually on Newsnight. Now, not content with screwing your nan out of her life savings by being one of the bad boys of Brexit, along with pint-sized, lawyer-loving journalist silencing Trump-felcher Aaron Banks and some other quisling pricks, Farage has made a comeback and says he's ready to screw us all over again. This time, he wants to do it right up the Clacton, a place already shafted by the milkshake magnate's life mission to isolate the UK, The salty seaside settlement will now decide if it should offer up its dry anus for yet more fiscal raw dogging by the brown-toothed tweed-wearing twat. Like some jowly, wheezing, leather-faced narcissist trying to suck off Lord Sugar to win The Apprentice, Mr Farage insists he's a proven winner with a track record of success, a claim Broken News understands to be hilarious bollocks, given that he's lost elections in Eastleigh in 1994, Salisbury in 1997, Bexhill and Battle in 2001, South Thanet in 2005, Bromley and Chislehurst in 2006, Buckingham in 2010 and South Thanet again in 2015. In a WhatsApp message seen by Broken News, one senior cabinet member has said, "Oh, for fuck's sake, just give him a seat in the House of Commons so we can put him in the back and ignore him like we do with the Green Party MPs. And maybe then Newsnight will stop booking him every cocking week." Back to you.
Thank you. Well, Mr Farage has responded by barking out of his stinky gob that he's not yet tired of exploring innovative ways to heave himself into the UK. He's saying he'll continue to bend it over the desk of dignity and inseminate the political discourse with the eggy essence of Enoch Powell, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin using his tiny mushroom dick. What a lovely story. That's all from Broken News. You're up to date.
Many thanks to Larry and Paul for that very important Broken News update there. That was very, very important information that we all needed to know there. Very, very important information indeed. I know we've heard that one a few times, guys, but it is a good one. Just to remind us of how we all feel about Nigel. So, right. Let's carry on then, you guys. So just make sure I get it back on. Just to remind you guys, obviously there's a live YouTube chat poll as well, just asking you guys who came off best in the debate. Do you think came off best in it? So I've given you there's only 3 options there: Nigel Farage, Stephen Flynn, or Carla Denver. And then if there's another option, obviously you can vote in the comments down below. So it's a live YouTube chat poll, so feel free to cast your vote in there. If it's not appearing, just refresh the stream and hopefully it should come up there for you guys as well. So let's dive back into it here. Hopefully I should be on the right point there.
Welcome back to the ITV Election debate. A reminder that you can join in the conversation we're having tonight using the hashtag ITV debate. Now let's get straight on to our next question from Christine from Manchester. Christine.
I keep hearing migration levels are too high and getting higher, and it's a strain on public services. But I understand we as a country need some foreign workers. What are you going to do?
Thank you very much indeed, Christine. Angela Rayner.
Thanks, Christine. And what we need at the moment is a skills strategy. We've not had an industrial and skills strategy. So what we've had is we've been over-reliant on our economy from overseas workers to fill our skills gap. And they've done a tremendous job in doing that, and we have needed that. But what we really need, as unemployment levels have gone higher again, is we need to really match those skills and give people opportunity to take those jobs. And that's what Labour's industrial and skills strategy is about. It's about not relying on overseas workers, and we'll always have overseas workers that come and help us, but we also need to have a strategy on how we skill up people here in the UK.
Thank you very much indeed, Angela Rayner. Nigel Farage.
Well, it's funny Angela Rayner says that because Labour today launched their 6 key priorities for the general election and didn't mention the single most important issue affecting the lives of everybody in this country, namely the population explosion caused directly by migration. The reason we voted Brexit and the reason Penny's party got the massive majority in 2019 is we voted to reduce the numbers coming in, and the numbers have exploded. I mean, honestly, unbelievable. 1 in 30 people walking on the street out there has come in the last 2 years alone. The answer is we have to have net migration at 0. It means skilled workers can come.
That is impossible. You cannot do that. He's absolutely right in saying that, obviously. I know people don't like me saying that Nigel Farage is right, but he's right in saying that the majority of people did vote for Brexit on the back of immigration and with the promise of obviously reducing migration in doing so. that was broken by the Conservatives. That is something that he is right on. However, this bit here where he goes on, like, this is exactly what Max Robespierre always says. He gives truth. He gives a bit of truth, but a lot of lie as well. This is how he manipulates people. So he's given a bit of truth about the Conservatives, but he's lying about, obviously, about how out of control it is as well.
We can go work abroad. We have to have a freeze on the total numbers of those coming in.
Thank you very much. Carla Denyer.
Christine, you're right. Our economy needs migration. Migration does change communities. In my view, that is a positive. However, I understand it can be unsettling, especially when change happens fast. And it can be particularly unsettling when the government doesn't invest properly in our public services. We think it's shameful when some politicians scapegoat the people who become our neighbours, our friends, our colleagues, to distract from their chronic underinvestment in public services. The solution isn't scapegoating or pulling up the drawbridge. The solution is investing in our communities to make sure everyone has access to the services they need. My party will never engage in that scapegoating rhetoric.
Thank you. Stephen Flynn.
So Scotland has a migration problem. The problem is we don't have enough migrants because Scotland has a declining working age population. So we need people to come. And you know what? I am genuinely fed up going to speak to businesses, going to speak to healthcare workers, going to speak to people in our social care sector, in our schools and beyond, who say that they need more colleagues. Businesses who want to expand, who need people to come and work with them and for them. That's why I'm in favour of migration. And this race to the right that is happening in Westminster is so, so wrong. We can do better. We must demand better, not just from the Tories, but from the Labour Party too. And the SNP will always do that.
Thank you.
I agree with both of what Stephen Flynn and Carla Denver are saying about migration, because and he's absolutely bang on point where he says that businesses, and we hear it, businesses need more workers, and the problem is that we're not training enough of our own people, training enough British forces. There's not enough of that population. But not just that ties in obviously to our healthcare, obviously, as well, because our healthcare is in a crisis as well, which means a lot of people are sitting on benefits. But the other thing as well as the factor is obviously it takes time to train up people, and there's also the problem with wages. The wages are not good enough as well. So you don't just have a problem of, so it's not just a problem of not enough workers here. The wages suck as well. So if you want British jobs for British workers, you've got to change the wage structure as well. So that's the other challenge. So when Nigel Farage says we've got too much migration, we need to stop reducing migration, like, who's going to fill the gaps? Yeah, for the voids of them then, because it can't be British workers, and then they want to. It can't be British workers based on those wages, but they want to. But the Conservatives and the Reform Party want to push those on those into those workforces where the wages, the pay rates are so crap that they can't literally live in the homes that they can. They'll be forced to live with their parents all their lives rather than actually having a home. So, oh. What's just gone on? Hold on a second. 1 second here. Are we still live? What's going on? Is monetization? What do you mean you've blocked it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, wow. ITV have blocked people from you playing their video. Wow. Oh, wow. Am I back on? I'm back on. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, that's infuriating. I'm absolutely furious. I cannot believe this. I'm not going to monetize this. So they won't let me let me play the video anymore, apparently. Wow. So I cannot. I can no longer play the video, guys, because they will shut down the stream, apparently, due to copyright issues. How infuriating is that? When I'm not even going to copyright it. So what am I supposed to do? What? I mean, it's infuriating. Unless there's another... What can I do? Fair use commentary. I mean, I could do it with audio, but it's not ideal. I don't really want to do it with audio. I mean, you guys don't just want to see me sitting here just while you're listening to it. But we didn't have this problem with the first debate. Why am I having this problem with... I didn't have this problem with the ITV debate between Keir Starmer and that. So why am I having this problem now? Unless I use a different... fair use, it was fair use. Let me just try playing it and see what happens again. Hold on.
Thank you very much. Daisy Cooper.
Our NHS, our care service, hospitality, engineering, you name it, almost every single sector in this country is absolutely crying out for people with the skills that they need. And under this Conservative government, what has happened is they always pull the lever for immigration, and people come here and we should welcome them when they do and contribute to our economy, but they haven't invested in our domestic workforce. Liberal Democrats have a plan to give a higher minimum wage to care workers, £2 higher than the minimum wage for everybody else, so we can get people back working in the care sector. We want to create a Royal College of Care Workers so they've got a bigger, stronger voice and give them genuine...
Yeah, they're... Yeah, this is infuriating. I can't believe they've done this. I can't believe they've done this. I'm not... This is absolutely infuriating because everyone else is using it, but I can't. That's outrageous. I can't. Well, the thing is, they didn't silence me before. This is the thing that's infuriating me. So this is the only other way I can do it, guys.
Vocation and training throughout their lifetime. We also need to have...
So, but you won't be able to watch it. Yeah, and the thing is, I turned off monetization because I know I'm going to get copyrighted. Right. Right. Yes or no? Do you want to listen to the rest of it with audio? So I want you guys to answer. Do you want to listen to the rest of it with audio? The only problem is you have to put up with my face though, because I won't be able to show you it. So yes or no? Do you want to still listen to it? Because I still want to. The only problem is, guys, I can't show you the video, but we might be able to get away with the audio. So yes or no? Do you want to listen to it with the audio? I won't get in trouble with YouTube because Wolfpet, because it's not monetized. That's why I don't monetize my live streams. I won't get in trouble. I won't get striked because it's not monetized, Mad Monk. I won't get copyright strike because it's not monetized. So this whole copyright thing is nonsense. I don't make any money off this. The only money I'll make off it is off any super chats or memberships. That's why these live streams are not monetized. But can you guys just answer the question? Because I need an answer from you guys now. Do you want me to carry on with just audio or not? Yes or no? So I've got no problem doing it with just audio if you guys want that. Don't do it again. No, I am going to do it again because again, like I can't get guys, you need to understand something, right? You only get copyright strike if you have monetization on. I'm not going to get copyright striked because I don't make any money off the live streams, guys. I'm not going to get copyright striked. I will not get in jail, Wolfpet. Don't be silly. You guys are jumping to conclusions, yeah? Yeah, there's a reason why I don't turn monetization on yet for live streams, is so I don't get into these trouble. Okay. Just come back and discuss S&D without video. Everyone stops. So nobody wants to. Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep playing it, guys. And we'll just have to listen to it then.
have a skills lifetime account as well, because people need to retrain and reskill throughout their life. But when people come here to look after our loved ones, we should welcome them, but we must also invest in our domestic workforce at the same time.
Thank you, Daisy Cooper. Raina Abwarth.
It's a very well-worded question, isn't it? I keep hearing that this is a problem, says Christine. And you know what? I think we need to heed and listen to people who have genuine concerns about the impact of the movement of population and pressures on public services. But we have to put that in the context of public spending cuts by the Conservatives. We have to look at the numbers of immigrants that we need to bring in for certain sectors in health and care and parts of the economy. Listen, I've been on a whistle-stop tour of Wales in the past week. You know, I try to listen to people, but the problem we have is that Nigel Farage here has been on a dog whistle tour of the UK for many, many years and exploiting the anxieties that people have, and we really need to change the way that we talk about this issue.
Yes.
Making us poorer. That's the...
Yeah, he's absolutely right. The Rune is right on the position, because people want to do the whole dog whistling thing. They want to no picture, just sound. Yeah, I can't do the picture. I can't do the picture because of copyright, Alistair Keir. So it would just have to be like that. Yeah, I'm not getting any issue with them there, but yeah, it's absolutely stupid that I'm getting challenged on this when I'm not even monetizing it. But anyways, let's not drag any more time than we have to, guys. Let's keep listening to it. So, but just like what Rune's saying is that they're obviously trying to change the obviously the so-called right wing are trying to change this perception that migrants are bad, that they are bad, they're all problematic, and that's not really the case, guys. They just want to paint that picture that they're all problematic, which they're not. They really are not.
Thank you. Thank you. We are doing these answers uninterrupted. Thank you. Penny Mordaunt.
And public spending is going up. But you put the question very well, and I think whatever the public think about the numbers, what they want from their government and their parliament is to control access of foreign nationals to the UK. So what we are proposing is that every year Parliament will put a cap on the number of family and work visas, informed by what our workforces need, but also what pressures would be put on housing and community services. That way we can ensure that each year the numbers come down, and on our plans we are due to halve that number, halve migration by next summer. With us you get a cap and a plan. With Labour they have no cap, no number and no plan.
Okay, thank you.
Well, your plan obviously of your plan of the Rwanda scheme is not a fair one. It's an inhumane one. So. And plus, you want to break a bunch of international laws.
Penny Mordaunt for that. Just to return to Christine's question, she's hearing that migration levels are too high, getting higher, putting a strain on those public services. She understands as a country, she says, that we need some foreign workers. What are we going to do about it? Just before we get the debate flowing, please raise your hand if you think the net level of legal migration, that is the additional number of people coming to the country to work and live, needs to fall. Please raise your hand.
So those who've raised their hands, Angela Rayner, Daisy Cooper, Penny Mordaunt, Nigel Farage has raised both his hands, Carla Denver has kept her hands down, Stephen Flynn is just drinking some water, and Rune is obviously keeping his hands down as well. Says a lot about them, to be fair. It shows that I love that picture there. Should I be cheeky and just show you the picture? There's a picture of them there. You can see Carla Denver obviously keeping her hands down. I love that they're that the Greens are saying no, we're for migration. You know, we're the opposite. But very surprising that Daisy Cooper there.
The number needs to fall.
What a sorry
Nigel
reflection.
Farage, Penny Mordaunt.
It's due to fall anyway.
Daisy Cooper, Angela Rayner.
The
Thank
Westminster
you very much.
status quo. That's exactly.
The Westminster status quo. Well said, Stephen Flynn.
That's the Westminster status quo. Of course it is. The four main parties.
No, it isn't.
The four main parties all with the exact
I welcome
same...
immigration, because I think that people come here and they're more likely to prop up our public services and work in our public services rather than they are to put a drain on our public services. So I welcome immigration in this country because they contribute to our public service. But the numbers are due to come down anyway. But I think part of the reason we have so many people coming here, and I welcome them when they do, is because we're not investing in our domestic workforce, and we can do both at the same time.
OK, thank you. There was some pretty strong language used towards Nigel Farage about dog whistle tours and scapegoat politics. What's your response to that?
I'm just talking numbers. We haven't even mentioned housing yet.
But could you respond to that point in particular?
No, I ignore that nonsense. Complete nonsense. I'm just talking pure facts. Housing. We have to build one new home every 2 minutes just to cope with legal net migration under this Conservative government.
This could not be more BS. One house every 2 minutes. Come on. This is scaremongering. This is nothing but scaremongering. This is nonsense. Nonsense, 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 guys. Scaremongering is what this is. My God.
It is literally impossible. And as for the numbers coming in, I would respond to this. 50% of the 750,000 who are coming in a year are dependents. They're not wealth creators. And mass migration is making us poorer. You'll hear, GDP's going up. Well, of course it is. There are more people. GDP per capita, our relative wealth, has declined for the last 6 consecutive quarters.
I hear Nigel Farage talking a lot about dependence. The problem that we have in higher education now is that changes in visa requirements means that family members aren't able to come and study to accompany students to Welsh universities. That is causing major problems in terms of revenue.
Yeah, so it means less students come, Nigel. It means less good students come to the UK. You're saying good. I'm saying no, that's bad. We want good. We want the best and the brightest to come and work in the UK. We want the best and the brightest to come. Why would you not want the best and the brightest people on the planet to come to the UK to contribute to the UK economy? Why would you not want that?
Revenue for our higher education.
You shouldn't bring your mum. You come to university in Britain, you can't bring your mum, can you? I mean, come on.
We need people to come to study in our universities.
We rely on people from abroad to care for our loved ones. They should be able to bring their loved ones with them.
Daisy Cooper saying there we should be able to bring their loved ones with them.
I just want to turn to Angela Rayner, who's quite quiet here. You did raise your hand alongside Nigel Farage on that question. Angela Rayner.
Yeah, because the Tories, they talk about a cap, but we've had net migration going up and up because our economy has relied on overseas workers well, it's flatlining. But what we've said is that we need an industrial and skills strategy because we've got unemployment going up in the latest figures.
You've
so
had
we've got to make sure...
years to come up with some ideas on this, and we have. We've got a workforce plan for the NHS. We've got a...
Penny Mordaunt there. You've had 14 years to come up with a plan. You've had 14 years in power. What have you been doing this whole time? That's bad.
Workforce plan for social care.
You don't have a workforce plan for social care.
It will inform a vote on the floor of the House of Commons from your democratically elected representatives. Will be able to cap the visas.
It is absolute rubbish. You've talk about the issues that the question of net migration has gone up.
You have no idea. You have no workforce strategy. You have no industrial strategy. You have no
Are you talking to me or Rishi?
Thank you.
Are you talking to me or Rishi? Because that is exactly...
You have been in an election campaign. What's your plan?
Thank you.
You haven't got one.
I'm going to thank you, Angela Rayner. Stephen Flynn.
That's a lot of bickering there. Blaming the blame Labour game is not really. It's just not really. It's just not sticking. You know, if I'm honest. Like they don't have. Penny just doesn't. Like Penny's just looking like an absolute bloody idiot. She's just looking like an idiot. She really, really is on this situation. It's just not. It's just not working. It really isn't. I mean, it's. Oh dear, oh dear.
Follow that.
Follow that, Stephen.
The reality is that Angela was being quiet because the leader of her party, Keir Starmer, just a couple of years ago, said that we should be talking about the positive benefits of migration. And I actually believe that Angela Rayner probably agrees more with me on this topic rather than she does Nigel Farage or Penny Mordaunt. But the Labour Party has changed, and it's changed in the wrong direction. And when Nigel Farage tells you all that migrants are making you poor and they're the problem, don't believe him. Do you want to know the biggest problem facing the UK economy right now? His pet project of Brexit. £40 billion worth of tax receipts.
Yes. Yes, Stephen.
Do you want to know what makes it worse? The Labour Party back Brexit as outlined by their manifesto today. Shameful.
No, I need you to respond, Angela Rayner, to all of those points, particularly the point on are you on his side, really, as Stephen Flynn's implying or asking directly? What did you
Look, first of all, we respect the result of the referendum. I know that the SNP never do, but we do, and that's what we've said.
Yes. But we're obviously, but you know, in a but we're still a democratic country because obviously we still believe that people should also be able to have votes down the road. But yeah, apparently so. Apparently, you know, and whatnot. Yeah.
On that point, on the second point, I absolutely believe that people come to this country and work hard and contribute, but we cannot have an economy that relies on just overseas workers. We have to also have an industrial and skills strategy when unemployment is going up in the UK that we can train and fill our skills gaps as well.
You haven't had to do anything else.
Penny, you've been in power 14 years. 14 years. You haven't got one.
You don't.
You don't. You need to shut up, Penny. You cannot like this. Labour don't have a plan. You can't trust Labour. Labour, you don't have a plan. You can't trust Labour. They're going to put your taxes up. And yet, aren't you the ones been in power for 14 years? That's all everybody needs to do. That's all everyone needs to do here.
You promised an employment bill. We never got one.
You promised to bring down net migration. Just been here before. Thank you very much, Penny Mordaunt, Angela Rayner. I think we might have just been
the worst of all possible worlds for the EU because they will take you back in without any of the benefits of membership.
Penny Mordaunt.
Okay, Penny.
Keep talking about your workforce strategy. What are you doing to deal with the emigration, the people leaving from our health and social care because they're not being properly paid for the work they do?
I'm fighting Labour's plans to tax our healthcare professionals on their pensions.
Carla Demo was asking your plans, not Labour. They're asking your plans specifically. Can you answer the question?
That's what I'm fighting. Senior nurses, doctors are going to leave the NHS, and they're also going to be piling on additional pressures into our
Penny, we haven't won the general election next time, and we'll try and find someone who says that's why they're leaving.
I won't.
I like that from Carla. Yeah, come down. Why don't you come down there from the picket line and ask them? Why don't you come down there, Penny? Come down there and speak to them in person. See what that's like.
All right, Nigel Farage.
Christine, the answer to your question is, what are they going to do about it? Neither of them will do anything. These people have lied to us repeatedly, and Labour,
Sorry, I have to cut in there. So Stephen Flynn cut in saying, "What are you? You're not a liar, Nigel Farage." Oh,
repeatedly. I know. I've actually always told the truth. Always told the truth. Always said what.
I wish I had like I feel like this is where I need a soundboard or something here. Nigel Farage, I've always told the truth. Sounds like Boris Johnson there. What a load of nonsense.
Always said what and Labour, it's not even.
All the politics, because Stephen Flynn and Carla there just looking with massive laughing grins on their faces of what Nigel just said there.
And in your first 6 priorities for government, you haven't got the will to do anything about it. Nothing under these is going to change. And the vast majority, not on this panel, obviously, because they're not representative in that sense, the vast majority of Britons want net migration reduced significantly.
Angela Rayner, whilst I pick my cards up.
Thank you. Well, actually, in our first steps, we talk about a border force command so that we can deal with the crossings and people that are putting their lives at risk, because the Rwanda scheme will never work. It's always been a gimmick. We would put that money into tackling the gangs, and Keir Starmer said today he's worked on counter-terrorism with overseas before. We can do it again. These gangs that are putting people's lives at risk should not be carrying on in the way they are.
Migration. And again, you have no plan to do it.
14
well, tell everyone what you're going to do with illegal migrants when they come here. What are you going to do with illegal migrants when they come here, Angela?
We have said that we will fill our skills gap with an industrial strategy to match people to the skills. Because what the Tories...
Thank you.
You're not letting me finish.
Your leader was asked a specific question at the manifesto launch today.
Thank you.
and your leader couldn't answer it.
Penny Mordaunt,
what are you going to do with illegal migrants that come
Thank
here?
you, Penny Mordaunt.
Angela Rayner mentioned the border force. Angela Rayner mentioned the border force. We're back to Brexit here. Of course, it's more difficult to control our borders and immigration because of Brexit and the fact that our relationship isn't what it was with the European Union. And on Brexit, £4 billion has been spent on controlling our borders when we used to have the borders that were free. And the question I ask myself time and time again in this election is, what has happened to Labour? After Brexit, I didn't want to leave the European Union, but once that vote happened, we had to think of ways, OK, of trying to protect our interest. I worked with Labour colleagues of yours on a document called Securing Wales's Future, which proposed getting back or staying in the customs union and the single market so at least we could look after our trade interests. What happened to you? Why won't you even talk about that in the Labour Party now? It's because you're afraid of the Conservatives are afraid of Nigel Farage, and we end up in the trouble that we're in.
Angela Rayner, respond.
This is very good. Again, Rune being really good here. Again, like, guys, I've got to say this. Like, I'm very keen, actually. You know what? I know they launched their manifesto this week as well. I think it was yesterday, I believe it was. The Wales Plaid Cymru launched their manifesto. I'm kind of keen to see what they're actually offering to the people of Wales. I really like what he's been a lot more aggressive. This is again him going on the attack, going after Labour, and rightfully so as well, because he needs to, obviously, if they want their party to get more voters in Wales, because right now Labour have always had quite a firm grip in Wales, that is for sure. Manmark33 says these politicians need to realise their democracy doesn't stand still, and if folks see something isn't working, they should be able to say so and be able to change it. There is no legal migration, just migrants, says Alistair Keir. Yeah, a facepalm moment, says Jan Wallace. Yeah, it was a facepalm moment without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, I've definitely lost a lot of viewers because I don't have the video feed now, which is absolute nonsense, even though I'm not going to be claiming monetization for this anyway, but apparently YouTube thinks I will, which is stupid.
Let me answer that point. First of all, nobody thinks people should be crossing on small boats and putting their lives at peril. That's why we don't think these gangs should be allowed to do that. That's why we're putting the money into stopping that from happening. And in terms of, you know, what we're going to do to support, you know, sorry, I forgot what your other part of the question was, but...
OK. All right, if you're so... Well, we're just going to take a pause.
So you weren't paying attention to the question. Oh, that's not very good then, Angela.
You were just there. I'm just gathering my thoughts as well as gathering my cards here. So we're just going to draw a little bit of a line, but actually stay broadly on the subject, as you'll see, because you're quite keen to talk about Brexit. Before we go to our next break, I'd like to ask you all a pretty quick-fire question from Ken in Caerphilly. He told us that he had a simple question, yes or no. If elected, would you ever rejoin the EU or the single market?
So, yep, very quick. So I'll turn the volume up to Max here, asking, would they rejoin the EU and the single market, yes or no?
Rayner.
No, and your other question before was Brexit, and as a result of the referendum, that's what we respect.
You would never rejoin the EU or the single market?
No.
Shameful. Thank you.
Dear. No worries, Alistair Keir. Thanks for popping by. Thank you for the gifted memberships and the super chats today. Greatly appreciate it, my friend.
Shameful.
Not on the table at this election, unfortunately, but at some point in the future, I very much hope so.
Thank you very much. Penny Mordaunt.
No, and if you have a Labour government, they will take you back in, they will tie you on defence, on migration, on regulation, without any of the benefits of membership.
She just said no, Angela Rayner, and Penny Mordaunt says no, but if you vote Labour, they're going to take you back in.
Carla Denyer.
Yes, when the time is right.
Thank you. Nigel Farage.
No, we're free. Unfortunately, we're governed incompetently, but at least there are mistakes and not somebody else's.
Stephen Flynn.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Andrea.
I have no doubt that Wales is best served by being in the European Union, but for now, let's get back in the customs union and the single market to help our economy.
Thank you all very much for being so sharp and quick and clear with your answers on that. We will leave that issue there. For now, much more after the break, when we'll be discussing the cost of living.
No worries, Mad Monk. Thanks for popping by. I can understand some people not wanting to carry on listening because there's obviously no more video feed, which I know I'm absolutely infuriated with ITV over this. I really am, because I'm not claiming any copyright for this. I'm not claiming any money off advertisement for this in any way, shape or form. I have no intention to. guys. It's just really infuriating.
Should get your vote with our next question. It's now time to turn to Janice from Penarth in South Wales.
Good evening. Britain is a rich country. I've worked in housing for 32 years. Why am I working every day with individuals and families who never thought they'd struggle, but now rely on food banks and are at serious risk of homelessness?
Thank you very much indeed, Janice. Nigel Farage.
Because people are getting poorer. It's quite simple. I mentioned a few moments ago that GDP, wealth per capita, has fallen for the last 6 consecutive quarters. And it's very much, and it's been the same, it sort of began with Labour, but it's continued. It's very much a country in which the big corporates and the big banks and a certain group of people have become richer exponentially, and everybody else has fallen behind. And things that perhaps, we could have expected when we were younger, our kids and grandkids now find a house unaffordable. Rents have risen by 20%, in some parts 30%, just in the last 3 years. And I'm sorry, but we are back to the population explosion and the massive impact it's having on the lives of people. And we've got to try to get the population to steady, and we have to build more houses, and we have to take the poorer people out of tax, increase the tax
Thank you very much.
to £20,000, get people back to work.
Thank you very much. You've had your time.
Pretty much most of what Nigel Farage says I agree with on apart from those last little bits, but there, like he was saying that, people are like, it's not the same as it was. But that's why I scream the words tax the rich, tax the wealthy. But, we know where Nigel Farage stands on that one, to be fair.
Nigel Farage, thank you for that. Ryan Apioros.
Thanks for the question. Yes, a very rich country, but one of the most unequal in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that we were so ill prepared for the cost of living crisis. Some, of course, was exacerbated by war and global conditions, but of course we can never forget Tresonomics and the crashing of the economy at the hands of the Conservatives. So what we had was a cost of living crisis, yes, a cost of inequality crisis, a cost of lack of investing crisis, a cost of missed opportunities. Somehow we have got to get government to recognise the importance of dealing with inequalities before they can make opportunities open to all. And that is what is so missing from what Labour is offering, tied at the hip as they are to the Conservatives.
Thank you very much, Stephen Flynn.
Said.
There's an easy answer to your question, which is the Conservative Party is the problem. But to look more deeply into the policy aspect of this, we've had 14 years of austerity. Then we've had the damage of Brexit and what that's done to the economy, the shrinking of the economy, the £40 billion worth of tax receipts which have disappeared out of the economy. Then, of course, we had Liz Truss and her decision to crash the economy. And, of course, on top of that, we've had the mismanagement of primarily Scotland's energy resources, which has led to everyone in this room and everyone across these aisles, energy bills going through the roof. The thing that concerns me the most is what comes next. And the status quo consensus in Westminster is for £18 billion of public sector cuts, isn't it, Angela?
Thank you very much indeed. Daisy Cooper.
The cost of living crisis is a complete catastrophe, and it's affecting people in every single community across our country. There was a point at which we used to say people were choosing between heating and eating, but there are people now who can't afford either, and it's devastating. So we Liberal Democrats were the first party to call for a windfall tax on the big oil and gas companies, because we saw the raw injustice of those companies raking in billions of pounds in profits whilst people couldn't afford to heat their homes. And that's why we're still saying we would close the loopholes in that windfall tax to raise more money so we can increase people's the warm home discount and start insulating people's homes. We would spread free school meals to every single child living in poverty in this country, so they can afford to have at least one meal a day to help them sleep and study. And we must invest £1 billion in our farmers to reduce the price of healthy, locally grown food.
Okay.
There is I don't know why, in England in particular, why we are even having a discussion about whether or not we should be giving free school meals to children. I don't even know why this is even a discussion. This should not be something that needs to be discussed. This should be enshrined in law that every child should be given a meal, regardless of whoever you are, whatever your background, whatever the situation. Every child should be guaranteed a meal. Every child. This should not even be a discussion. The very fact that people have had to fight a Conservative government just to get free school meals absolutely blows my mind. We're talking about our own kids here. Our own kids. The next generation of our kids for the future. How can this even... Why is this even a debate? Is what boggles my mind. It should not even be a discussion. Everyone, all cross-party consensus, all politicians should be on board with this. I'm sorry, if you have a problem with taxpayer money going towards feeding kids, you're the problem. You're the one who's inhumane. You're the one who's anti-British. Or anti-human, shall I say, here. There should not even be any discussion about this at all. There really should not.
Okay, thank you very much. Angela Rayner.
Well, it's a very important question. Stephen gave a resume of what the problems were, but without any of the solutions. We need to grow our economy. We haven't had growth in our economy. The Tories have taxed us the highest burden in...
Yes, you keep saying growing the economy. We get that, but you won't give us the details.
70 years. We also need to build the houses that people need. The Tories haven't built those houses. That's why we've said we'd build 1.5 million homes, including social housing that we desperately need. We need a new deal for working people, which I'm incredibly proud of, to make sure that people have secure, good paid jobs, and we need Great British Energy to bring down energy bills so we're not reliant on people like Putin for our energy needs, which has meant people's bills have gone sky high.
Thank you very much. Penny Mordaunt.
Thank you. Well, thank you for what you do, and you'll know from the people that you work with that when you're facing financial hardship, how frightening that is and how exhausting it is, because you have to be so organised. I think this is the issue of the election. And it is not true to say that we've put the highest burden on the poorest. The tax burden on those on low and middle incomes is the lowest that it has been since 1975.
That's not true, and you're lying.
We've got 4 million people into work. We have 1 million fewer working households. But what we need to do now is cut tax. We have to enable people to keep more of the money they earn. That is what we will do. Labour will do the opposite. They will put up taxes, they will put up bills, and the people you work with will suffer.
Penny, you keep
spouting this rubbish, it's uninterrupted. Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner, we are doing uninterrupted responses, and it is Carla Denya's time to respond. Carla Denya.
Thank you. Janice, you're right. The rich are getting richer, but the poor are getting poorer. We think it's time to bring fairness back into our economy by asking the billionaires and the multimillionaires to pay a bit more and introducing a £15 minimum wage, an immediate £40 uplift, weekly uplift to universal credit, and lifting the cruel 2-child benefit cap, which both the Conservatives and the Labour Party support, even though it unnecessarily holds 250,000 children down into poverty. It's not even that expensive to lift, but both the Conservatives and Labour have ruled it out.
Very good, very good. I don't think anyone can make really many distinctions or arguments on what Carla Denver is saying there, but I really like those points, and obviously that's off the back of reading their manifesto as well. Yeah, we don't think anyone's got any complaints about what she's saying there.
Thank you very much indeed, Carla Denya. And just a reminder of Janice's questions. She works in housing. It's very pertinent to her. She's seeing it day in, day out. She's asking why so many people are now relying on food banks and are at risk of losing their homes. And just to put some statistics here before we get this debate going, last year the Trussell Trust handed out 3.1 million food parcels, the highest number ever. And the Independent Institute for Fiscal Studies has said this Parliament has been the worst on record for growth in average incomes.
That is absolutely terrible. That is absolutely terrible. That is shameful. That is shameful for British politics. That is absolutely shameful.
Stephen Flynn put some very clear points directly to you, Penny Mordaunt. Perhaps you'd like to respond to them, first of all.
Well, look, we have been through some very, very tough times.
Where have I heard this line before, guys? I've heard this line so many times. tough times, guys. We've been through some really tough times, you know.
And the economy is now turning. Wages have been growing for the last 10 months. This is not the time to suddenly rack up taxes on people. Labour are going to do this. Their leader has said he is going to do this. What you haven't been told is what taxes and on what people. But the average is £2,000 per working household in this country. People can't afford that. You know they can't afford that.
And who put us in that situation? Who put us in that situation, guys? I wonder who put us in this situation in the first place. Who could have possibly put us in this situation in the first place?
And it will choke off to the recovery.
Stephen Flint, speak directly to Penny.
You know what the public can't afford, Penny, is any longer one single day more of a Conservative government which is completely out of touch with the reality on the ground.
Let me respond to that directly.
And ultimately, if we are going to move this conversation on to economic growth and what comes next, because that's probably where it's going to go. And, you know, Angela said that she wants economic growth, but she didn't mention the single market, didn't mention freedom of movement, and didn't mention the fact that the Labour Party have walked away from £28 billion of investment in net zero technologies, whilst the United States, Europe and everyone else is going down that route to grow the economy. The Westminster...
This is brutal on Labour. Absolutely brutal.
Consensus is alive and well, and it doesn't serve you well, and ultimately it will be the people who need it most, the people who can't afford the shops, the people who are ultimately living in poverty who will feel the consequences of Westminster's priorities.
OK, and I'm just going to come back to the question. We really want to root in this one. Janice is working with individuals and families who never thought they'd struggle. We're not just speaking about those who are on the poorest and on the lowest incomes. There are people who've not struggled before, who've been very frightened by this experience. Carla Daniel.
Yes, I met with the local branch of Citizens Advice in my home city just earlier this week. And they told me the exact same story. They're helping people who've never needed their help before. And the key message that they wanted me and other prospective MPs to go away with is an understanding that for too many households, the problem is extremely simple. Money in is less than money out. The government could choose policies that would fix this. It's choosing not to. So's the Labour Party. The Green Party thinks differently.
Daisy Cooper, you wanted to come in there.
So, and Penny Mordaunt has said that the Conservatives haven't put tax up, but really? I mean, of course they put tax up, and they even froze the personal allowances, meaning that people were dragged into paying a higher rate of tax. That was an invisible tax increase by the Conservatives. But the fact is that the cost of living crisis has been made so much worse by the mini-budget, which blew a hole in the public finances and made people's rent and mortgages go absolutely sky high. And people have felt that hit, and they are still trying to recover now.
One of the biggest regrets, I think, of 14 years of mismanagement by the Conservatives is that they missed the opportunity to invest in economic growth in order to help our communities. During those years when interest rates were low, what they chose to do was have this ideological drive to cut public spending that hit everybody, especially those who are poorest. And in this election, you'll hear me talking a lot about ambition. Where is the ambition from either of the Westminster main parties to invest in allowing us in Wales to make the most of our natural resources through devolving the Crown Estate, allowing us to invest in transport and connectivity through giving us the billions we're owed as a result of HS2 rail in England? That's the ambition that we need. We're not hearing it from the Conservatives, and I regret we're not hearing it from
Nigel.
We need to do something with vision. And if we increase the level at which people start to pay tax to £20,000, that takes 7 million people out of tax. That's up to a £1,500 benefit for people on lower wages. But it helps get people off the benefits trap. Because the benefits trap is if you start to go back to work and earn money, you lose benefits. Plus, we'd rely less on unskilled foreign labour.
Well, the problem is, Nigel, and I hate to break this to you. Yeah, I really hate to break this to you. But the problem is, Nigel, is that as great as an idea of it is of getting more people off benefits and into work, we have a broken healthcare service right now. There's a lot of people who cannot go back to work because they are not fit and able to do so. And I don't think punishing those with certain disabilities and forcing them into work against their will is in the best interest for the workforce, if I'm honest. But yeah, you can't have a functioning economy without a functioning healthcare. They tie in together. They are two and two in together here, really.
That's the kind of vision that we need to help those who are at the lower end of the income scale or on benefits in this country. And you know what? I really believe it would work.
Just a quick question, Nigel Farage, from Suella Braverman actually has talked about the two-child benefit cap, which has been raised, just touched on a couple of times. I know that at some point we'll return to that. Suella Braverman has actually said that that two-child benefit...
Who cares what Suella Braverman says? Why are you mentioning her name? What has she got to do with any of this? Why is she being mentioned? Nobody cares about Suella Braverman. This is the same person that said that people being homeless is a lifestyle choice. She's not on this debate. She's not on this panel. She's not a political leader. Why are we talking about what she says? Who cares what Suella Braverman says?
Cap should be lifted. She's spoken quite warmly about you in recent times.
I know.
Well, I wasn't asking you to respond to that necessarily, Nigel Farage, but she would welcome a lifting of that cap. Would you agree with Suella?
I think we should encourage people to have families. I think we should encourage people to have children.
So is that, yes, so they should all be, all of those children...
And I think we should also encourage people in marriage to have some tax benefits as well, I really do.
So that's a yes, a lifting of the two-child...
Yeah, we've got to help people.
He didn't say yes, but I think he's saying yes there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's saying yes on that.
OK, Angela Rayner, would you agree with Nigel on that?
Well, first of all, we said that we wouldn't increase taxes for working people because they have the highest tax burden under the Tories. And coming back
let her finish.
Coming back to the original point as well, the Tories promised to end Section 21 no-fault evictions. They haven't, and that's sent homeless.
Yeah, that was really bad. The no-fault evictions on the Conservatives had that in their 2019 Conservative manifesto, and they did not fail to deliver that. That is really damning for sure. That was really, really bad. People, the renters have really suffered as a result of not going. They really, really have.
Soaring, especially for families, and that we also have said we need to make work pay so that people. One of the most scandalous things I've seen. I've talked about my childhood when my mum and dad was on a gyro. We didn't have to go to a food bank. The people using food banks now are actually in work, and that is under the Tories' watch.
Point out the embarrassment here for Angela Rayner. We have Nigel Farage wanting to get rid of the two-child limit, and Labour is refusing to. Again, I ask, what's happened to Labour?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And like I said, I've said this before about the two-child benefit cap. The only conclusion that I have on the reason of why they won't remove the two-child benefit cap is because of a poll that I saw last year that said that a poll from YouGov, I believe, last year saying that the majority of people back a two-child benefit cap, but I've not seen any new or recent polls that says of what people feel about the two-child benefit cap. So I can't really answer that question, I'm afraid. There's a surprise. Braverman speaks warmly of Nigel. Yeah, well, they've been at parties together, to be fair, as well, Wolfpet.
Well, again, we've said that we'd have action on child poverty, but we will not...
Yeah, but you won't remove the main crux of the issue that would make a lot of difference to a lot of people.
Lift the two-child limit.
Will not
a Conservative policy that you are determined to press ahead with, even though it damages some of our poorest families.
We will not do unfunded spending commitments.
We're talking about the poor.
Then why not fund them, Angela? Why not fund them?
Let me finish. Because unless we can identify where that money's coming from, we have identified...
Identify where the problem is. Poor children living in poverty.
Can you let me finish?
It's just like, this is the thing, like, they don't want to take any risks, they don't want to take any gambles. We can't risk it, guys. We just can't risk it. We just can't risk it. No, it's just can't do it. We just can't do it. We can't give the people what they want in this situation, because we might upset a few people.
Yeah, that's why housing responds to poverty. So does people's work. We've already put things in place that we said we won't do unfunded spending commitments. But
we keep saying that unfunded spending commitments.
But we've put free breakfast clubs in schools because actually, as a child that was on free school meals as I was growing up, I had to wait to dinner time to get fed.
We
have prioritised what we felt we needed to do.
In a moment.
Here we go. Penny going in now.
I just want to root, as I said before, in this question, serious risk of homelessness, some of the families and individuals that Janice is working with day in, day out. There's a big question about housing on this, and I'd just like to turn to Carla Denyer, please, for your big plan on housing.
That's right. I've been a housing campaigner my whole life. It's something I'm very passionate about. And my God, do we have a housing crisis in this country. When I moved to Bristol about 15 years ago, I rented a one-bed flat. The cost of a one-bed flat in the 15 years since has doubled. And we can all agree that wages have not doubled in that time. And so, yes, the Green Party does have a plan. There is no one single bullet, there's no panacea, but there are a group of measures that we can do together. That includes creating more homes. We would create 150,000 council homes a year by the end of the next Parliament. That's through a mixture of new build and giving councils the powers to buy the supply more easily from the market. It also involves giving councils the ability to make sure that private housing developments deliver the kind of housing we need, the right homes at the right price in the right place, and giving councils the power to keep private rents under control in areas where they're overheated.
Yes.
That's another vote winner right there. If you're listening to that, if you're somebody who's young, you're somebody who's struggling, you keep hearing about not enough homes and whatnot. Yeah, she's hitting some of the real key bullet points about some of the problems that young people are going through, about the next generation of people are going through. And as someone who has been renting for 15 years, as she said, and she has seen that change in 15 years that she has been renting as well, so she can relate to that issue. It speaks a lot of volumes to what people are feeling right now. That was a very good vote-winning segment there from Carla Denver.
SNP have had some tough questions over the affordable housing budget, Stephen Flynn. Give us your big plan.
Well, of course, in Scotland, it's the SNP that has seen the building, has oversaw the building of 40% more affordable homes than in England and 70% more affordable homes in Wales. I don't necessarily think that's a tough question to answer. What we're looking at is the future, and ultimately the Conservatives have decided to cut the capital budget for Scotland, which impacts directly upon our ability to build more homes. But for the people who are living within those homes, what we've done in Scotland is introduced the Scottish Child Payment. It doesn't exist anywhere else on these isles. The Labour Party won't replicate it. The Tories certainly won't. 100,000 children are going to be lifted out of poverty thanks to that Scottish Child Payment. It is being called a game changer. Will the Labour Party back it, yes or no?
Yeah, and I'd add to Plaid Cymru is proposing £20 extra for every child as well, because again, like the SNP, we recognise that we have to get to grips with the issue of child poverty.
If you want... No, Penny Morden.
Oh, here comes Penny.
So I'm going to draw a line there, thank you. I think we might find that some of this arises a little later in our debate this evening. We have got quite a lot of time tonight to talk about all sorts of things. So we're going to move on now to something a little bit different. We've invited each participant in our debate to ask a short question of one other person of their choosing. It's a chance to see what's on the minds of the different party representatives and a chance to get some clarity, hopefully, on something they care about. We've seen the questions in advance. However, the 7 on stage do not know how the others are using their question. First up.
Now, unfortunately, now, as much as I like this little format that they're about to do, I have reservations about it. The problem is, and I'm going to spoiler for those who haven't watched the debate, the 90% of them target Angela Rayner on their question. So rather than everyone getting asked a question or something like that, everyone kind of points there. I think there's 1 or 2 gone at Penny Mordaunt, but most of the questions people put to Angela Rayner. And what do you think, guys? Do you think the questions get answered? No.
Is Carla Denyer. To whom are you posing your question, Carla?
To Angela Rayner. Angela, which of your party's U-turns are you most proud of? The ditching of the £28 billion climate investment plan, keeping the cruel 2-child benefit cap, or one of the others?
Do you think Angela Rayner is going to answer that question? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
What I'm not proud of is that we've had 14 years of the Tories and the crashing of the economy, but what I am realistic about is we've got to have a programme.
It's the Tories. Blame the Tories. They've made everything worse, though. It's Tories.
For government which is credible, that can grow our economy so we can invest in our green prosperity plan and so that we can eradicate poverty. And I know Labour can do it because we've done it before and we'll do it again.
Don't really feel like that answered my question.
Well, I did.
No, you didn't, Angela. You didn't answer the question. Don't lie to the public.
I felt it did answer the question.
What do you think?
Well, it didn't, Angela. Stop lying to the public.
You know, you can't just keep plucking numbers out and say, well, this is what...
They're not. She's not plucking numbers out. She was asking you 2 very specific questions. Yeah, if you had a little bit more respect, we'd give you a little bit more respect if you would actually answer the blimmin' question.
We'll do, because that's what the Tories...
That's what a manifesto is. That's fully costed one.
Well, yours wasn't fully costed.
Yes, it was.
The Conservatives...
Well, funny. It's funny how there's questions about your manifesto as well. Funny about that.
Unfunded tax breaks, and that's when Liz Truss crashed our economy. We have a fully funded, fully costed manifesto, which has a growth strategy.
No, sorry, Penny, you don't answer.
Here comes Penny again.
To somebody else's question, Penny Morden. Thank you. I'll just do that. Just gently,
calm down.
stating the case there, Penny Morden.
Hello, Context and Mark. Just for you guys know, I keep the stream gets turned off if I show the video footage, which is absolutely infuriating. Even though I'm not monetising the election debate, we were about halfway through before YouTube stepped in for some reason. Even though this is not a monetised live stream at all, they wouldn't let me carry on live streaming, which is absolutely outrageous. So I have to leave it on audio, which is extremely annoying, guys. So.
Morden, agitated over this point.
Don't get agitated.
So you have to put up with my pretty face. Sorry.
Because you're up next, Penny Morden. It's your turn to ask a question. Who are you asking it of?
I'm going to also ask my question to Angela.
What a surprise! Penny Morden has Angela Rayner a question. I wonder what she's going to ask. You can just tell everyone's laughing. The audience is laughing. It's just like we all know this is gonna kickstart. Christ.
And you're going to be
Rachel Reeves.
I don't know if you heard Stephen Flynn there. He says, I think you're going to be busy, Angela.
Your shadow chancellor hasn't ruled out increasing capital gains tax. This would mean higher costs for families when they're selling their homes. Will you commit to ruling that out now?
Rachel has set out, yes, we have set out that we will not raise income tax, national insurance and VAT. And we do not need to raise taxes on working people because our manifesto is fully costed, unlike the Conservatives.
They have ruled out those taxes, but they're not ruling out the others because they know that they will have to raise taxes somewhere. That is why they've said that. That's why she's not going to commit to that.
So you are not going to raise capital gains tax?
There is nothing in our manifesto that means we have to raise capital gains tax, no.
But so you can...
Okay, so she's just said that there. Interesting.
...say that you're not going to raise capital gains tax.
She's answered. Penny Morden, thank you very much.
I don't think she has, folks.
Okay.
The faces that Angela Rayner are pulling is just incredible.
I don't think she has.
Thank you. Nigel Farage.
My question is to Penny Morden.
Okay.
Given that your 2010 manifesto, your 2015 manifesto, your 2017 manifesto said you'd reduce net migration to tens of thousands, your 2019 manifesto said immigration would massively reduce, and that net 4.3 million people have come into the country since that time, why on earth should anybody believe the fifth manifesto that promises cuts to net migration?
Because of the record of this Prime Minister. So we've had...
Oh, enough, that's fine, I'm happy.
Figures out today.
Penny, do you have any idea how fucking stupid that sounds? Oh, Penny. You really dropped it there. You really dropped it with that answer. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh. That was a real hammer question from Nigel Farage on Penny Morden.
That show that visa applications have fallen by 30%, and the OBR's own forecasts say that we will halve immigration by next summer. That's the trajectory we are on, and we will give Parliament the chance to set an annual cap on family and work visas. That will be enshrined a legal cap. And that is what we are offering. That's why you can have confidence that those numbers have come down. They're projected to come down. And the only alternative you have in this election is that, or what the Labour Party have on
Blame
offer.
Labour!
Nigel is a Labour enabler.
Nigel,
and he is enabling no cap, no target and no plan.
Penny, let Nigel Farage come back.
I don't believe a single word that you say. You've deceived us with the last 4 manifestos. I don't believe you in the 5th. And as for being a Labour enabler, we are now ahead of you in the national polls.
OK, thank you.
A vote for you is actually now a vote for Labour.
Thank you very much, all of you, for the questions so far. That's it for this point. That's it for
Nigel is
Thank you very much indeed.
Serious, this is the only two.
Thank you very much indeed for all of your questions.
With us and a
Thank you
cap
very
on
much.
immigration.
Thank you
Higher
very much.
taxes with Labour.
Thank you very much, all of you, for your questions. We'll have some more of those shortly. We've had those from Nigel Farage, Penny Moore, and Carla Denyer. More of those to come from our other 4 participants.
Right, I'll come back we'll come back to that in a mo. But actually, there's a video here that I can play for you guys. A funny one here. Again, I'm sorry about what's happened with the whole YouTube thing. Those thinking that I'm going to monetize this. I'm not going to get copyright strike, guys. I stressed this. Yeah, I'm not. The monetization is turned off. I'm not going to be turning it on. And no, I am not going to edit this video in any way, shape or form after it's said and done. I'm just really infuriated that they wouldn't let me record the rest of it. But I got a live YouTube chat poll for those here on YouTube asking who came off best in this debate: Nigel Farage, Stephen Flynn, Carla Denver, or others down below. 63% of you think it's Stephen Flynn, 21% of you think it's Carla Denver, 16% of you say it's other there. Make sure you cast your vote and have your say. Guys, while you're here, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And if you're not a subscriber already, please subscribe because it does help support the channel. And just a quick reminder, guys, I will be back with a live stream within 4 hours time with the Snowflake Corner. So, and that one obviously you will get an image on your screen, not just my pretty little face as well, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little funny video, just to kind of so you don't have to put up with me 24/7. This one from Matt Green here on why did Rishi Sunak leave D-Day events early?
Has been forced to apologise after leaving the D-Day commemoration events early. Our blunders, missteps and jaw-dropping incompetence correspondent Jonathan Goodenough has more. Yes, that's right, as leaders from across the world gathered in northern France to pay their respects to the almost incomprehensible bravery and sacrifices made 80 years ago, Rishi Sunak popped in, then left early, like he was showing his face at a party for one of his wife's friends. What did he have to get back for? An interview for ITN, in which he responded to claims that he lied about Labour's tax plans. So he tried to fix one campaign scandal by causing an even bigger one. Yes, it was essentially a gaffe squared. He then denied that he would lie in order to win an election, which is in itself a lie. So perhaps it was actually a rarely seen gaffe cubed. What's been the reaction? People have barely noticed. Really? No, I was joking. It's been an absolute disaster. Right. In fact, just a moment ago, I received a WhatsApp from a minister which reads, and I quote, FFS, this is the single stupidest political decision I've ever seen up close, and you have to remember that I worked with both Boris Johnson and Liz Truss. We are doomed, doomed, doomed. Gosh. And bear in mind that I have had to clean that up quite significantly because it contains several swear words and spelling mistakes, because I think he might be quite drunk. So why was this such a bad decision? Well, for a campaign that has focused squarely on attracting an older, reform-considering demographic, it's hard to think of a worse look. It would be like the leader of the SNP wearing an England shirt at the Euros, or the leader of the Green Party slapping Greta Thunberg on a private jet. Or the leader of the Labour Party praising Margaret Thatcher. No, that helps him, for some reason. So how do you think this happened? Well, as ever, there are a number of lurid theories spreading online. Some people have suggested that after shorting the British economy, Sunak is now shorting his own government, deliberately trying to lose badly because he's put some sort of bet on that outcome. Gosh. Or he's part of a Brewster's Millions style plot where he has to shed as many seats as he can or he'll lose his fortune. Right. Or maybe he knows that the public sector is in such a terrible state and the public finances aren't much better that whoever wins the election is going to have to make some pretty horrible choices that he doesn't want to have to face. Wow. But the reality is likely to be more mundane. He's just really bad at this, and the people around him are worse. He has the political instincts of a goldfish on a lawn, and he has a crack team of advisors who may just be on crack. And we've still got 4 more weeks of this. Oh God, kill me now. Jonathan? Sorry, that was another WhatsApp from a minister. Thank you, Jonathan. Next up, as the parties prepare for the BBC debate tonight, we ask, will Penny Mordaunt be allowed to bring her sword? And if she is, what weapon would you recommend for Angela Rayner?
Yes, what weapon do you think Angela Rayner should have? Well, at the moment, she's definitely dying on her sword. That is for sure, guys. She's definitely dying on her sword from the way this is going right now, guys. It really is. It's not good. That is for sure. So let's carry on. Let me just make sure I've definitely got it on the right spot there. Bum 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 bum. There we go.
Tonight's debate to ask a question of one other person. Before the break, Carla Denyer, Penny Mordaunt and Nigel Farage had their go. Now it's time for the other four candidates to ask their questions, starting this time with Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner.
Mark says a club. She would bring a club. I'm now scared Regan will get copyright again by showing Matt Green's video. No, I've shown Matt lots of... I've said this before and I've said this again. I do not monetize my live streams. I do not monetize my live streams, so I don't get copyright strike. This is why I don't monetize my live streams, so I don't get copyright strike. So I will not get in any kind of trouble. And I always plug Matt Green anyway. And I've actually when I initiated monetization for my channel when I first got it, I had my live streams actually were turned on for monetization, and I had no copyright strikes or nothing. If Matt Green ever said, yeah, to be fair, it's not just me that uses Matt Green's videos. Other YouTubers do it too, and he has no problem with other people using his using his funny videos because it promotes his content. So, and there are lots of other funny YouTubers that don't mind it either. So, I wouldn't worry about it from that point of view. I've already said I have no intention of turning on monetization for this anyway, but I'm not going to delete this after this. I'm keeping it on here because I want people to not just watch the debate and listen to the debate, but hear my thoughts as we go along. But they think I'm going to copyright claim this, which I'm not going to in any way, shape or form.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Penny, would you allow Nigel Farage into the Tory party?
What a pointless question. So Angela Rayner's question was to Penny Mordaunt, would you allow Nigel Farage into the party? Is that really...
Let's see now. I'm a Brexiteer. I believe that if you can't reform European institutions, you should be prepared to leave them. I set up a business before getting into Parliament, so that's why I always back business. And I believe in rewarding personal responsibility. You might think I have a lot in common with Nigel, but what I'm standing against is letting you in and letting you tax the hell out of people. Nigel is helping you do that. So I think we've probably got less in common than you might imagine.
So that's a no then, and apart from your rubbish about us taxing people when you've taxed people the highest in 70 years, which you keep forgetting and you keep going on about 4-10 years.
Yes. Let me respond to that.
No, we don't want to hear your response to that because what Angela Rayner is saying is true.
At the end of the next Parliament, yes, we have had a high tax burden. Not, as I said earlier, on low and middle income earners, but overall it...
Well, that's funny because the low and middle income earners are also feeling the pinch too, Penny.
...has been high. At the end of the next Parliament, on our plans, it will come down. Labour will take it to a record high. What they haven't told you in this campaign is what taxes and on what people. Okay. She couldn't deny capital gains tax earlier on. What? She can't deny fuel duty, council tax.
Thank you, Penny Mordaunt.
Not only do you not listen to me, you don't listen to the public.
She's just throwing anything out there now. She's literally throwing the kitchen sink out there of telling people, don't vote Labour, please, don't vote Labour.
Angela Rayner and Penny Mordaunt.
Council tax, they trebled it in Wales. They need to tell you how they're going to pay for their plans.
Stephen Flynn, time for your question.
It's like being back in the Commons. Angela, it took 4.5 months and the death or injury of almost 100,000 civilians in Gaza for the Labour Party to back a ceasefire. On day one of a Labour government, will you end arms sales to Israel?
It's a very serious question, and it's very infuriating that Labour will not commit to this. But we also know why. Labour won't say yes to this either because of the cozying up to certain Israeli groups, shall we say, as well. They want to try and do it from as a legal. There's a way I feel like they're trying to cover themselves in this in a part as well.
Vin, you know as well as I do, what happened on the 7th of October was barbaric, and Israel had the right to defend itself. However, since then, the absolute loss of innocent lives, thousands of innocent lives, everyone in the House, everyone of all political persuasions have been pushing for a ceasefire, as well as our international counterparts. But if we were in government, we would immediately review, as we've been asking the Conservatives, the legal advice on arms sales to Israel, and we will comply with international law.
Thank you very much indeed, Stephen Flynn, for your question about the horrific scenes we've all witnessed following the Hamas attacks of October the 7th and the Israeli military action in Gaza since. Thank you for that question.
Wait, why can't he respond?
Can I come
your
back?
question.
Everyone else's.
That's a bit. I'm sorry, that's a bit bollocks. Why can't Stephen Flynn respond to that? It's been denied there.
My question is for Penny Mordaunt. So it's about trust. The Conservatives promised to recruit 6,000 more GPs and didn't. The Conservatives promised to build 40 new hospitals, many of which has been make-believe. And since 2015, the Conservatives have missed their cancer treatment target every single year. Why can anybody, or how can anybody, trust a word the Conservatives say about protecting the NHS?
Well, we have met many of our manifesto commitments from the last election, including recruiting public sector workers. And that's why you can see we're making improvements in many public services, as we spoke about earlier. We have a particular issue with the NHS, but we are increasing healthcare professionals, many more doctors, many more nurses. But integrity is vital. It is not right to say that you are not going to increase taxes and are. It's not right.
Oh, the whole taxes line, like you got asked a straight question here. You failed to deal with these issues. Why have you not responded to these issues?
To say that you are going to support the nuclear deterrent when you voted against it.
Thank you.
It's not right to say.
Thank you, Penny Mordaunt. We're going to move on to Rian Akio's question next. Thank you.
My question is also to Angela Rayner. Given the convergence between Labour and the Conservatives on public spending, maybe I should ask if Labour would accept Penny Mordaunt into your party. But I'll.
Oh, he's been brilliant tonight. I think he's been brilliant tonight.
I'll ask this. Gordon Brown said child poverty is a scar on the soul of Britain. Now, is it the likely incoming Labour government's two-child benefit cap or the £18 billion worth of cuts to public services which will make the situation worse?
She's not going to answer that question. She was put this question already by Carla Denver and didn't answer it. She's not going to answer it again.
Well, you're absolutely right to recognise that child poverty is a scourge, and as someone who grew up in poverty, I absolutely know that we have to tackle it, and that's why we'd have a strategic number 10 unit that would look at tackling child poverty. But it's not just about one particular lever. We talked before about housing. That is a problem for people. We've talked about employment. Insecure work is a problem for people. Low wages. So we're going to tackle all of the issues that will help, and the growing of the economy will give us more money in our public services so we can do those things. But uncosted spending commitments is not going to help our economy, because the Tories did that and they crashed our economy. So our fiscal rules are absolutely cast iron.
Thank you, Angela.
They always say this point, but because Liz Truss crashed the economy, they had to change their tune on things. They've always said that.
Thank you for all of your questions directed across the stage this evening. We're going to our final question now, and this is a question on politics itself and the faith in it. I'm looking around. I know that Samran's here with your question for our candidates this evening. Samran.
People have lost faith in politics. We feel disconnected from our representatives and sceptical that you will deliver on your promises. The public simply doesn't trust our system anymore.
Yep.
What one change can you make to restore trust in politics?
OK, we're going to keep this succinct because we're running out of time. So 30 seconds if you can. Please, Daisy Cooper. One change, one offer.
You're absolutely right that trust in politics is broken, and the Liberal Democrats have always said it's not just about who's in power, it's about what you do with power. So we believe in devolving power to local communities so they have more say over what they believe in, and we want proportional representation so that every single vote of every single person actually counts in a general election.
Thank you. Angela Rayner.
You're absolutely right to say about trust in politics. That's why when I've spoke on this panel, there's things that we'd really like to do that we can't do, and we've been honest and upfront about that. But I also think we need our politicians who make the rules to play by the rules as well. So bringing back integrity and ethics into our politics, which is what Keir Starmer will do in Labour, is exactly what we need to do, because people cannot go around, as they have done, breaking the rules and think they can get away with it. The Prime Minister did, the previous Prime Minister to that has done, and I think that's undermined all of us as politicians.
Penny Mordaunt.
I like this is the one time I thought Angela Rayner looked really, really good here. You know, speaking about it, saying like trying to be as honest as she possibly can in this difficult situation. And yeah, she has taken a bit of a battering, but this is definitely a very good response here to that question from Labour's point of view.
Well, we're at the dawn of a new parliament, and I think if we want integrity back, then people need to vote out the Conservatives. There's plenty of ways you can do that. Just don't vote Conservative. Be honest about their manifestos. The only party on this platform that is going to cut your taxes is the Conservative Party. A vote for any other party will increase your taxes. Higher taxes, higher taxes, higher taxes, higher taxes, higher taxes, higher taxes, higher.
She's literally, I kid you not, she's pointing at every single politician as she is saying this.
Start with honesty in manifestos. Labour have 3 weeks to do that.
She's basically saying all the parties there are going to raise taxes. She's literally, Penny is literally saying the Greens will raise taxes. They will raise taxes. Stephen Flynn's going to raise taxes. The Plaid Cymru are going to raise taxes. The Liberal Democrats will raise taxes. They'll all raise taxes. All of them will raise taxes. And the highest tax burden that we have in this in the last 40 and since after the World War has been caused by her party, the Conservatives. But everyone else, guys, everyone else.
Thank you very much indeed, Penny Mordaunt.
How about some honesty about the fact that freezing thresholds has meant higher taxes under the Conservatives whilst they've been cutting public spending? And this is the honesty and integrity that we're looking for. We need politicians to be truthful with people about the challenges that we face. We need good judgment. Yet we have a First Minister in Wales, a Labour First Minister, who accepted a £200,000 donation from a convicted environmental polluter. That's poor judgment, and I wonder if Angela Rayner would have accepted it.
Thank you very much indeed. Carla Denyer.
I think one of the reasons that people have lost faith and trust in their politicians is that most elections there are hundreds of MPs who are totally safe in their seats because we have an unfair voting system where the number of votes cast does not match with the number of seats elected. That's why the Green Party would change our voting system in general elections to a proportional system, the fair system that almost every other country in Europe has. Do you know there's only one other country in Europe that still uses first past the post? It's Belarus. And why do we not have a fair voting system? Because Conservatives and the Labour Party block it.
Thank you. Stephen Flynn.
In my view, you should always vote, if you are doing well in life, for the politician who will make sure that others can get on in life. And if you're not doing so well in life, you should always vote for the politician who's going to make things better for you. I think that's a nice and good starting point in politics. The Westminster system, the way it operates, is broken. It's been built on failure, Brexit being the most obvious one of recent times. Hold your politicians to high standards and vote for what you believe in.
Thank you very much
Well
indeed.
said, Stephen.
Nigel Farage.
I do agree that the first past the post system has led to the two big parties. Well, one was big, not after today's polls, but there we are. They're both mushy sort of SDP parties in the middle. I would change the voting system. I think the House of Lords is an abomination. The fact that it's filled up with party donors is a complete disgrace. There must be an elected element. And finally, let's give the people the ability to call more referendums.
No, because then what's the point of politicians? If we're having more referendums, what's the point of politicians making decisions for us? You vote a politician in to make decisions on behalf of the people. That's the whole point of it. We don't want more referendums. In honesty, like, you should not, like, the whole Brexit thing should not have been something that we decided. It should have been something, oh dear, it should not have been something that we decided. It should have been something Parliament makes the decision. It should be a decision made by Parliament. Oh God, I do agree. Apart from that, like, obviously, yes, the House of Lords needs to change without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, I agree with that one, Nigel, on that one.
So they can decide the biggest issue of their lives.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Nigel Farage. I'll just bring Stephen Flynn in then as in response to some of the things you've heard on improving trust in politics and mending our broken politics.
Well, and I'm just surprised that Nigel Farage wants another referendum on Scottish independence. I'm sure there's a lot of people back in Scotland who'd be...
Oh, come on, you don't want to lose again, do you?
Who'd be very keen.
Oh, no. What are you saying? Hey, listen. Why not give them the vote? There's nothing to worry about. Give them the vote. Like, if you're so sure that the union is going to win, why not take it to the polls? Let's have that vote.
To see that happen. Well, if you're so confident, if everyone else is so confident about that, let's put it to the test. Let's put power. Let's put power back in the hands of the Scottish people and take it out of politicians at Westminster. I'm sure the Labour Party would back that premise.
You had your pop.
Well, I'll put that to Angela Rayner and then come to Daisy Cooper.
I think over the last few years, trust in politics has just been blown to pieces. The Conservatives have taken a wrecking ball to standards in public life, and people are sick to the back teeth of the lying and law-breaking from Boris Johnson, the mini-budget from Liz Truss, and the failures from Rishi Sunak. It is time for change.
Penny Mordaunt, would you like to respond directly to that?
Well, look, I think we have an opportunity now. We're going into a new Parliament. I know that my colleagues up and down the country are doing a good job in their constituencies. They care about the people that they represent. We have to hold individuals to account. But if we can't be honest about what is in our manifestos, then that doesn't bode well for that Parliament. I say it again to Angela, 3 weeks, tell us where your tax rises are coming from.
OK, Angela Rayner quickly and then Rhian ap Iorwerth.
I mean, we've said we're not going to be taxing working people. The Tories, judging by their record, they have done that. And Stephen,
I think that record has been well played a little this evening.
I want our nations to work together. I think we're better together. And the one thing we have got in common is we need to get rid of the Tory government in Westminster, and that's why people need to vote Labour.
The Tory government's forever by backing Scotland's independence. That's what we should do.
And just briefly, no wonder people are fed up. It's the PPE corruption.
Yes.
It's the Downing Street parties during COVID. We need to hold politicians to higher standards than we've seen in recent years.
Thank you very much indeed.
He's been good. Rune's been good. He's been very good he's been very good tonight. He really has. David, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Is there anyone else I've not said hello to who's popped in? Wolfpet's gone off. If he's still here, take care, buddy. But yeah, happy Pride to you as well, David. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I think he's been actually. I'm gonna go. I think Rune's probably been. I think he's been probably the. We saw a lot of. I thought Daisy Cooper shined really well in that first debate, but I think he's been the best. Been almost just as good, if not better, than Stephen Flynn at times. I think.
Well, the reason I focused on a fair voting system, I mean, there's so much that could be better in politics, but the reason I focused on that is that when MPs have safe seats, they're not held to account. Short of a serious breach of the law and being found to be a criminal, you can do pretty much anything if you're an MP in a safe seat and you'll be re-elected. Holding MPs to account, a big part of that is making sure that they are properly answerable to the electorate.
Thank you. So a little variety of ideas in answer to that question. Thank you very much indeed for that, and thank you for all of your responses. So some big ideas on how we might change our politics going forward, see what you thought of them. That's it for the questions tonight. But it is now time for our candidates' closing statements, and our first this evening is with Carla Denyer.
Come on, Granny.
I'm going to be straight with you. The choice you make on the 4th of July isn't just about which party you vote for. If we look beyond the finger-pointing and squabbling, politics is about choosing the kind of future we want for our children. We all know the Tories are toast, and Labour will form the next government. But are they offering real change, or is it the same broken politics dressed up with a red rosette? We deserve better. So as you watch this with your friends or family, think of who you want on your side in the next Parliament, making sure your voice is heard. The Green Party is on the cusp of breaking through in seats up and down the country, and Green MPs will never stop defending our future, protecting our NHS from privatisation, and pushing the next Labour government to think bigger and act bolder. They'll tell you that's not how it works. They'll tell you you have to vote for more of the same. But a vote is a choice. And on the 4th of July, you can choose real hope and real change.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Just very good. I like that saying, look, I'm here, our party's here, you have a choice, you don't always have to vote for the status quo. We're here, we're showing that we are outside the main establishment. You can vote for us. Very clear there from Carla Denver. I thought she was solid tonight.
Thank you very much, Penny Mordaunt.
Tonight, Angela Rayner has proved one thing. Labour will put up your taxes.
Oh my Christ's sake! Talk about your party! Good God!
Labour's track record of economic hardship speaks for itself. The lesson of the last few years is that when Labour are in charge, unemployment rises and tax rises. They will do it all over again. They're going to tax your pension. They're going to tax your home. And what you need to know from tonight is that they are also going to push up your bills. These are hard truths, but better face them now than regret them later. It's your choice, it's your vote, and it's your future in your hands. So, if you value your pension, don't give a blank cheque to Labour. If you value your pension, vote Conservative.
I'm just not buying this. This is all about kicking Labour, and it's just not talking about yourselves.
If you value your home, vote Conservative. If you value your future, vote Conservative.
Thank you, Penny Moore.
Apart from that last little bit, that was all she had. That was it. That was terrible from her. She could have won a lot more voters with a lot better speech.
Penny, Daisy Cooper.
Our country is crying out for change, and it's not hard to see why. Day in, day out, all over the country, people are striving just to get on in life. But under this Conservative government, too often, it feels like we're fighting a broken system. Nothing works. Under Ed Davey's leadership, the Liberal Democrats are promising a fair deal for the British people. We will fix the NHS and social care, tackle the cost of living crisis, and stop filthy raw sewage being dumped into our rivers and seas. A vote for the Liberal Democrats is a vote for a strong local champion, a vote for a fair deal, and a vote to help deliver the change that we all so desperately need. And in so many parts of the UK, a vote for the Liberal Democrats is the best chance of finally voting this disastrous Conservative government out of office.
Thank you, Angela Rayner.
The choice at this election is simple. More chaos with the Conservatives or change with Labour. Imagine waking up on the 5th of July to 5 more years of a chaotic Tory government.
No.
Years of high tax and low growth, while everything gets more expensive. Crime going unpunished. NHS waiting lists getting longer. The Tories have left you and our country worse off. A vote for Labour is a vote to end the chaos. We know we can't tax our way to growth. Labour's plan for growth and wealth creation is about stability, investment and reform. Economic stability is change. We will bring down NHS waiting times with 40,000 new weekly appointments, and we'll secure our streets and our borders with more neighbourhood police and border security command. Vote Labour for the change.
Thank you, Stephen Flynn.
Good speech.
Let's start with the good news. The Tories are finished. 14 years of Cameron, Clegg, May, Johnson, Truss and Sunak, that's finally coming to a close. So now our attention must turn to what comes next. And at a time when there should be hope and optimism, there is so little on display. Keir Starmer's status quo offers us yet more cuts and yet more Brexit. Well, in the SNP, we don't accept that cosy Westminster consensus. We believe in better investment in our NHS, action on the cost of living crisis, rejoining the European single market, economic growth by delivering net zero, Scotland's future in Scotland's hands. So on July 4th, vote for that future. Vote SNP to put Scotland's interests first.
Stephen Flynn, thank you. Nigel Farage.
Unlike the rest, I don't need a script. I've come out of retirement, back into politics with passion in my heart. And I'll tell you, Britain is broken, everyone knows it, and Britain needs reform. The election is over under our system. We know that Keir Starmer's going to win and probably have quite a big majority. The question is, who will lead the opposition? Because for democracy to work, there has to be a voice of opposition. And I put it to you that Ed Davey of the Liberal Democrats won't do that, because he actually agrees with Labour on most things. Rishi Sunak won't do it. Well, he'll probably be in California by then anyway. And the Tory party is split down the middle and about to implode in this election. I say to you, I will stand up against open borders. I will stand up and say those that come illegally across the channel should be deported. I will stand up and fight for the millions of men and women running small businesses. I have the courage to take on the mob. Please join the revolt.
Thank you. Rhian ap Iorwerth.
I'm sure there'll be people who were thinking, why is this guy from Wales being invited onto a debate being broadcast across the whole of the UK? Well, firstly, I hope some of what I have said has resonated with you, wherever you are, and that you agree we need to do politics in a different way. But the fact that some do think that reflects what Plaid Cymru is all about. We are here to offer a positive vision of what Wales could be, knowing that time and time again, our aspirations go unheard by Westminster governments, be that Labour or Conservatives. Now, the truth is, throughout the UK, there are communities who feel ignored and overlooked, and I hope you stand up for your community. And for me, it'll always be about standing up for Wales. Now, it's high time that the Conservatives were kicked out of power, but Labour will have to be held to account too. And Welsh voters can do that through Plaid Cymru MPs and their vision for fairness and ambition for Wales. Vote Plaid Cymru on July 4th.
Thank you very much indeed. And that brings us to the end of the ITV election.
And there you have it, guys. We got there in the end, and unfortunately, I'm very upset about YouTube blocking the video feed there of that for you guys, because I just think it's absolutely outrageous of YouTube to do that to me. But they have done that. But unfortunately, so it's about halfway. So I need to basically say that halfway through it was audio edited, which is very annoying to say the least. And the poll on who came off best in the debate. 52% of you think it was Stephen Flynn. 26% say other. Carla Denver with 21%, and no one voted for Nigel Farage there. So, so maybe some of you thought that I thought I can't say the guy's name properly. The Welsh leader there. I thought he was brilliant tonight in comparison to the last political debate. I thought he was excellent, and I really do hope they make some gains at this election. Yes, and both at the expense of all the other parties in Wales. I thought he was very good tonight. Stephen Flynn was on top form as always. We were expecting him to be on top form. I thought he was always going to perform well, and we know he did. And I'm glad that they brought up the whole Brexit debacle. A lot more talk about that as well. I think that was very, very important. Carla Denver, as always, was on point with her points as well. I don't think she did. I don't think there was any slip-ups at all from her either. So I thought those three were the best without a shadow of a doubt. Penny Mordaunt was without a doubt the worst person on that debate stage by far, by a million miles. I thought she was absolutely god awful. That was really bad for her, in my opinion. I felt if she holds onto her seat, I'll be shocked if she holds onto her seat after those debacles, if I'm honest. Daisy Cooper was good, but I don't think she was as good here as she was on the first debate. I thought she stood out a lot more in the first debate, in my opinion. But on this one, don't get me wrong, she didn't make any slip-ups or anything of the sort. I thought she was okay, but I didn't think she stood out at all, in my opinion. As for Angela Rayner, she took a lot of shots from a lot of politicians because understandably, of course, her party is going to be forming the next government, which is what it's likely to be as we head more forward into this. So that's not a really surprise there, obviously. But there were times where she did shine, I thought, and there were 1 or 2 moments where she really did shine, Angela Rayner. But she did what she needed to do to get through that, and I thought she got through it in the end. I wouldn't say she was absolutely terrible. I would say she was okay. But there were times there where there were very simple questions that she could not answer. Because obviously we don't know what Labour are going to be like when they come in government. So they're still holding their cards to their chest. They're still playing it safe, Labour, which is not ideal because people want to know what they're going to do and they're not being completely and totally honest about it, which is a bit annoying to say the least. And then finally, Nigel Farage, there were some 1 or 2 points where he was basically regurgitating what a lot of people are saying about the Conservative government. Obviously, his whole immigration thing, trying to make it all about this whole election about immigration. That was kind of what he was trying to do. Yeah, we were expecting that anyway, so it doesn't that doesn't surprise me to say the least here. But I'll just have a quick look in the chat. Actually, no, I do have one more funny video for you guys before we head out, actually. Yeah, because I'm going to be back live streaming it at 6 p.m. I might postpone it. I might not. I don't know. I've been trying to push old people to save their own purse at the cost of younger people, says Context. Farage is calling for a revolution is mildly hilarious, says one angry pagan. Yeah, Plaid did well, says Billy. Yeah. I thought the Plaid Cymru guy was absolutely fantastic. He was so much better tonight so much better last night than he was in the first debate. So much better. Which does actually, I'm seriously considering would like to read their manifesto and see what they're going to give to the people of Wales. I actually want to have a look. I'm very tempted to do that. I want all parties to have more representation in Parliament, says one angry pagan. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming along. Just before we head out, I did have I was going to play it. Should I or should I just leave it? I think I should. You know what, actually, guys, I think I should just leave it because we have been going for a long time, and I'm going to be live streaming again in a couple of hours, so I need to get off actually and catch my breath and all that kind of stuff, guys. I'm obviously extremely annoyed, very angry with YouTube for trying to take down a video that they think I'm going to be claiming monetization on, which I'm not, which was absolute BS, if I'm honest. But, yeah, I'm very, very annoyed that I couldn't play the rest of it, guys. But I'm not expecting people to, not a lot of people are going to obviously come back and watch this, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But for those who stayed all the way through, thank you very much, for doing so. I greatly appreciate it. Obviously, I know some people went to Labour Socials, the agenda, and then came back here after. So, but for those who stayed all the way through, thank you very much for coming along. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you, Alistair Key. I know he's not here, but he gave some super chats and gifted memberships earlier, which is greatly appreciated. So that's really good. I'll be back at 6 p.m, guys, with the Snowflakes Corner. And covering some world news there. So if you want to come and hang out with me for about an hour or so, you're more than welcome to come and join me there. So I'll be back again live in a few hours. So, so yeah, and then obviously I'll be hanging out in Max's live stream tonight as well. So yeah, so and as for Labour's manifestos, I'll be covering it at some point next week, guys. And obviously I'll look to try and cover maybe even Plaid Cymru's as well, or maybe I'll even look at reform as well to show just for that divergence as well, guys. But yeah, so thanks everyone for watching, for coming. So just before I head out, if you haven't already, the gang is still here. I should turn Ollie around, because Ollie's a lot happier now, because obviously we had some very kind people tonight who are supporting the channel. But just before you head out, guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so that others are notified of this video, and subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.